Small pocket pairs can seem simple at first glance, yet they are among the most misunderstood hands in Texas Hold'em. Tonight we'll walk softly through the many ways they appear, from speculative set mining to crucial shove or fold moments. Each situation will be explained patiently, guiding you through the quiet logic behind folding, calling, or pressing forward. As you listen, let the rhythm of the lessons carry you into rest. Small pocket pairs, ranging from deuces to sixes, hold a unique place in the world of Texas Hold'em. Despite their appearance as pairs, they are not inherently strong hands. Their true potential is unlocked when they hit a set on the flop, transforming them into powerful holdings capable of winning substantial pots. However, this transformation is not guaranteed, making these hands highly situational and speculative. Unlike medium or big pocket pairs, which often have inherent strength pre-flop, small pocket pairs rely heavily on the potential to improve post-flop. Medium pairs like sevens through tens can often stand on their own, while larger pairs such as jacks and above frequently dominate the action pre-flop. Small pairs, on the other hand, require a more nuanced approach, as their value is tied to specific board conditions. A common misconception about small pocket pairs is the idea of set mining. Set mining involves calling pre-flop bets with the hope of flopping a set, which is three of a kind. While this strategy can be lucrative, it is not always as straightforward as it seems. The probability of flopping a set is approximately 12%, meaning that most of the time, small pairs will not improve on the flop. This low probability necessitates a careful consideration of implied odds and pot size. Implied odds refer to the potential future winnings if the desired card hits, and they must be substantial enough to justify the initial call. Small pocket pairs appear in starting hands, with a frequency that might surprise some players. In a standard deck, there are 6 possible combinations for each pair, and with 13 ranks, this results in 78 possible pocket pair combinations. However, when considering only small pocket pairs, this number is significantly reduced. The rarity of these hands in a player's starting hand range adds to their speculative nature. Players must weigh the potential rewards of hitting a set against the risk of investing chips without improvement. The risk-reward balance of playing small pairs aggressively is a delicate one. Aggressive play can sometimes yield fold equity, where opponents fold to pressure, allowing a player to win pots without seeing a flop. However, this approach carries risks, especially if opponents are prone to calling or re-raising. The strength of small pairs lies in their ability to surprise opponents with a strong hand when a set is hit. Yet when they do not improve, they often end up as weak holdings against opponents' ranges that include higher pairs or stronger draws. In summary, small pocket pairs are speculative holdings that require careful strategic consideration. They differ from medium and big pairs in their reliance on board texture and post-flop improvement. Misconceptions about their strength often lead to overplaying them, while their frequency in starting hands underscores their potential for both reward and risk. Understanding the dynamics of small pocket pairs involves recognizing their situational strength and the importance of set mining with appropriate implied odds. Balancing aggression with caution is key to effectively navigating the challenges these hands present. Set mining is a fundamental strategy when playing small pocket pairs in Texas Hold'em. At its core, set mining involves calling a pre-flop raise with the primary goal of flopping a set, which is three of a kind. The allure of this strategy lies in its potential to win substantial pots when the board hits just right. However, the success of set mining hinges on several critical factors, including implied odds, stack depth, and position. Implied odds play a crucial role in determining whether set mining is a viable strategy. These odds represent the potential future winnings, if a set is indeed flopped. For set mining to be profitable, the implied odds must be high enough to justify the initial call. Typically, players look for implied odds of at least 8 to 1, meaning they expect to win 8 times their initial investment if they hit their set. This ratio accounts for the fact that a set will only appear on the flop about 12% of the time. The minimum stack depth is another key consideration for set mining. To justify the call, players need both their own stack and their opponent's stack to be deep enough to cover the potential winnings. A common guideline is to ensure that both stacks are at least 20 times the size of the pre-flop raise. This depth provides the necessary room for maneuvering post-flop, allowing players to extract maximum value if they hit their set. Position also significantly influences the effectiveness of set mining. Being in position, meaning acting after opponents post-flop, offers a strategic advantage. It allows players to control the pot size and gather information based on opponents' actions. This advantage is particularly important when deciding whether to pursue additional bets or folds after the flop. In position, players can better evaluate the strength of their hand relative to the board and opponents' potential holdings. Multiway pots, involving 3 or more players, can enhance the value of set mining. With more players in the hand, the potential for larger pots increases, as does the likelihood of opponents holding strong hands that can pay off a set. However, multi-way pots also come with increased competition, requiring careful consideration of opponents' ranges and potential board developments. Despite these challenges, the presence of multiple players often justifies the speculative nature of set mining, as the reward potential grows with additional contributors to the pot. Set mining can become a losing play under certain conditions. If the implied odds are insufficient, or if stack sizes do not support the potential payoff, the strategy may not be justified. Additionally, if opponents are overly aggressive, or if the table dynamics do not favor passive play, set mining may lead to unfavorable situations. It's essential to recognize when the conditions are not right, and to adjust the strategy accordingly, avoiding unnecessary investments in low-equity situations. In conclusion, set mining with small pocket pairs is a nuanced strategy that requires careful consideration of implied odds, stack depth, and position. When executed under the right conditions, it can lead to significant profits. However, players must remain vigilant and adaptable, recognizing when the strategy is viable and when it becomes a losing proposition. Understanding these dynamics allows for more informed decision-making and enhances the overall effectiveness of set mining as a core component of small pocket pair play. Opening small pocket pairs, such as deuces through sixes, from early position in Texas Hold'em, presents a unique set of challenges and considerations. When you find yourself under the gun, or in one of the first few seats to act, the decision to raise, limp, or fold with these hands requires careful thought. The primary risk of raising with small pocket pairs from early position is the number of opponents still left to act. With so many players yet to make their decisions, the likelihood of facing a re-raise or a call from a stronger hand increases significantly. This risk is compounded by the fact that small pairs rarely improve on the flop, making them vulnerable to higher cards and stronger hands. In passive games, where opponents are less likely to raise aggressively, open limping with small pairs can be a viable strategy. Limping allows you to see the flop relatively cheaply, with the hope of hitting a set and potentially winning a large pot. However, this approach comes with its own set of risks. Limping can invite aggressive players to raise, putting you in a difficult position where you may have to fold or call a larger bet without a strong hand. Therefore, open limping should be reserved for tables where you have observed a tendency for players to check their options rather than raise. When deciding to raise with small pocket pairs from early position, adjusting your raise size according to the format of the game is crucial. In cash games, where stack sizes are deeper, a standard raise of 2.5 to 3 times the big blind can be effective, This size is large enough to thin the field, but not so large that it commits too much of your stack. In tournaments, where blinds increase and stack sizes vary, a smaller raise of 2 to 2.5 times the big blind might be more appropriate. This allows you to conserve chips while still exerting pressure on your opponents. The depth of your stack also plays a significant role in determining the profitability of playing small pairs from early position. With deeper stacks, you have more room to maneuver post-flop and can potentially extract more value if you hit a set. A general guideline is to ensure your stack, and ideally your opponent's stacks, are at least 20 times the size of your intended raise. This ratio provides the necessary implied odds to justify the risk of playing small pairs from early position. Common mistakes when playing small pocket pairs from early position often stem from overvaluing the hand pre-flop. Many players fall into the trap of treating small pairs like medium ones, leading to overaggression and unnecessary risk. Another frequent error is failing to fold when faced with significant pressure from opponents who have likely hit stronger hands. Recognizing these pitfalls and exercising discipline can prevent costly mistakes. Overall, the decision to open small pocket pairs from early position should be made with caution. Understanding the risks and adjusting your strategy based on table dynamics, stack sizes, and game format will enhance your ability to play these hands profitably. By carefully weighing the potential rewards against the inherent risks, you can make more informed decisions that align with long-term strategic goals. In the game of Texas Hold'em, playing small pocket pairs like deuces through sixes from middle position offers a strategic balance between aggression and caution. Middle position provides more information than early position, as you have seen the actions of several players before you. This vantage point allows you to assess the table dynamics and make informed decisions about whether to raise, call, or fold. Raising small pairs from this position can serve multiple purposes, including building a pot, thinning the field, and setting up potential post-flop plays. When considering an open raise with small pocket pairs from middle position, it's essential to strike a balance between aggression and caution. The goal is to create scenarios where you can capitalize on the strength of a flopped set, while minimizing exposure to significant losses when the board does not improve your hand. A standard raise size in this spot typically ranges from 2 to 3 times the big blind. This sizing is generally sufficient to apply pressure on the blinds and other players yet to act, while still allowing you room to maneuver if faced with resistance. Raising small pairs in middle position also serves to balance your range, adding an element of deception to your play. By including hands like 22-66 in your raising range, you prevent opponents from easily reading your hand strength based on your pre-flop actions. This balance is crucial in maintaining unpredictability, especially against observant players who may attempt to exploit predictable patterns. By raising with a mix of strong and speculative hands, you keep opponents guessing and unable to narrow your range effectively. Fold equity is an essential consideration when open raising small pairs in middle position. The ability to make opponents fold better hands pre-flop can significantly boost the profitability of these hands. Aggressive open raises can force opponents holding marginal hands to fold, allowing you to win pots uncontested. However, the success of this strategy depends on your table image and the tendencies of the players behind you. If you have established a tight image, your raises are more likely to be respected, increasing your fold equity. Responding to 3 bets after raising with small pairs requires careful thought. When facing a 3-bet, it's crucial to assess the size of the re-raise, the tendencies of the opponent, and your stack depth. Against aggressive opponents who frequently 3-bet, you might consider flat calling in position, especially if the implied odds are favorable for set mining. However, if the 3-bet is substantial or comes from a tight player, folding might be the more prudent option to conserve chips and avoid difficult post-flop situations. The approach to raising small pairs in middle position also varies between cash games and tournaments. In cash games, where stacks are typically deeper, the focus is on maximizing value and exploiting opponents' tendencies. Here, raising small pairs can be more frequent, as the potential for large pots when hitting a set is higher. In tournaments, the rising blinds and varying stack sizes necessitate a more cautious approach. Preserving chips becomes paramount, and the decision to raise may be more selective, especially as the tournament progresses and the pressure increases. Ultimately, playing small pocket pairs from middle position involves a nuanced understanding of the game's dynamics. By carefully balancing aggression with caution, considering fold equity, and adapting strategies based on the format, players can navigate the complexities of these hands effectively. The goal is to create opportunities for profitable play while minimizing risk, ensuring that small pairs contribute positively to your overall strategy. In Texas Hold'em, small pocket pairs such as deuces to sixes gain significant strength when played from late position, particularly from the cutoff and button. The primary advantage of these positions is the increased fold equity, which allows players to leverage their position to steal blinds and antes more effectively. When you are in late position, most of the players have already acted, providing you with valuable information about their hand strength and intentions. This knowledge enables you to make more informed decisions about whether to raise, call, or fold with small pocket pairs. Raising from the cutoff or button with small pocket pairs is a strategic move that can yield substantial benefits. The key is to recognize that these raises are not solely about the strength of your hand, but also about the power of your position. By raising with small pairs from these positions, you apply pressure on the blinds, who must decide whether to defend with potentially weaker hands. This pressure often leads to folds, allowing you to pick up the blinds and antes uncontested, which is a valuable accumulation of chips, especially in tournament play. The concept of stealing blinds and antes with small pocket pairs is rooted in the idea of exploiting the positional advantage. When you raise from late position, the blinds are the only players left to act, and they are often holding marginal hands that cannot withstand aggression. This scenario creates an opportunity to win the pot before the flop, utilizing the inherent weakness of the blind's positions. The success of this strategy is amplified in tournaments, where the blinds and antes increase over time, making each steal more impactful on your chip stack. Late position also enhances the profitability of post-flop decisions with small pocket pairs. When you raise from the cutoff or button and receive a call, you have the advantage of acting last on subsequent streets. This positional edge allows you to control the size of the pot and dictate the flow of the hand. For instance, if the flop is unfavorable for your hand, you can check behind to see a free turn card, conserving chips and avoiding unnecessary risks. Conversely, if the flop is favorable, or if your opponent shows weakness, you can make a continuation bet to apply pressure and potentially take down the pot. Continuation betting is a powerful tool when playing small pocket pairs from late position. If your opponent misses the flop, a well-timed continuation bet can often win the pot outright. The key is to assess the board texture and your opponent's tendencies. Dry boards with high cards are ideal for continuation betting, as they are less likely to have connected with your opponent's range. By maintaining aggression and leveraging your position, you can maximize the effectiveness of your small pocket pairs, even when they do not improve on the flop. Defending against blind 3-bets with small pocket pairs requires careful consideration. When you raise from late position and face a 3-bet from the blinds, it's crucial to evaluate the situation based on the size of the re-raise, the tendencies of the player, and your stack depth. If the 3-bet is small and you have adequate implied odds, calling with the intention of set mining can be profitable. However, if the re-raise is large or comes from a particularly aggressive player, folding might be the wiser choice to preserve your stack for more favorable situations. Ultimately, playing small pocket pairs from late position is about leveraging the power of your position to capitalize on fold equity and make informed decisions post-flop. By understanding the dynamics of late position play and adjusting your strategy accordingly, you can turn these seemingly weak hands into valuable tools for accumulating chips and maintaining a strong table presence. Facing a 3-bet after opening with small pocket pairs, such as deuces to sixes, presents a crucial decision point in Texas Hold'em. These hands, while potentially powerful if they hit a set, are inherently weak against the strong ranges that typically accompany a 3-bet. The decision to fold, call, or escalate requires a careful assessment of several factors, including the opponent's tendencies, the size of the 3-bet, and your own position and stack size. When considering whether to fold, the first aspect to evaluate is the opponent's 3-betting range. Players who frequently 3-bet from the blinds or late position often have a wider range, which may include bluffs or semi-bluffs. Against such opponents, calling with the intention of set mining can be justified if the implied odds are favorable. However, against a tight player whose 3-bets signify strength, folding becomes the prudent choice, as small pairs fare poorly against premium hands like aces, kings, or queens. The equity of small pocket pairs like 22-66 against common 3-betting ranges is another consideration. Generally, these hands hold around 30 to 40% equity against typical 3-bet ranges that include high pairs and strong Broadway hands. This equity makes them underdogs, unless they improve significantly on the flop. Therefore, continuing without the right odds or position can lead to difficult post-flop situations where you are often dominated. Set mining, the strategy of calling with the hope of hitting a set on the flop, requires specific conditions to be profitable when facing a 3-bet. The implied odds, or the potential to win a large pot relative to the size of the call, must be significant. Ideally, you want at least 10 times the size of the call in your opponent's stack to justify the risk. Additionally, set mining becomes more viable when you have position, allowing you to extract maximum value if you hit your set and control the pot size if you miss. Flat calling a 3-bet with small pairs is a strategy that hinges on having position and sufficient stack depth. When you are in position, you can better manage the pot size and make more informed decisions based on your opponent's actions. The ability to see how your opponent acts on the flop, turn, and river provides a strategic advantage, allowing you to either capitalize on their mistakes or minimize your losses. In rare situations, 4-bet bluffing with small pairs can be a viable strategy, particularly against opponents who are known to 3-bet light. The success of this play depends heavily on fold equity, the likelihood that your opponent will fold to your aggressive action. A successful 4-bet bluff requires a keen understanding of your opponent's tendencies and a willingness to commit chips without a strong hand. It is a high-risk, high-reward maneuver that should be used sparingly and with careful consideration. Ultimately, facing a 3-bet with small pocket pairs is about weighing the risks and rewards. Folding is often the safest option, especially against tight ranges. However, in the right circumstances, calling with the intention of set mining or even 4-bet bluffing can turn these seemingly weak hands into powerful tools. The key lies in understanding the dynamics of the table, the tendencies of your opponents, and the specific conditions that make each play profitable. By approaching these situations with a strategic mindset, you can navigate the challenges of playing small pocket pairs against 3-bets effectively. In the strategic landscape of Texas Hold'em, small pocket pairs like deuces through sixes rarely hold the intrinsic strength to act as value hands in a 4-bet scenario. Instead, they can occasionally be wielded as tools for bluffing, particularly in situations where fold equity is high. The concept of employing small pairs as 4-bet bluffs requires a nuanced understanding of table dynamics, opponent tendencies, and mathematical calculations involving stack sizes and potential gains. When considering a 4-bet bluff with small pocket pairs, one must first assess the stack depth. Deep stacks provide the necessary leverage to execute this play effectively. Ideally, your stack should allow for a significant bet that pressures your opponent into folding. The deeper the stacks, the greater the fold equity, as opponents are less likely to risk a substantial portion of their chips without a premium hand. Conversely, shallow stacks diminish the effectiveness of a 4-bet bluff, as opponents might feel compelled to call or shove over the top with a wider range. Another critical factor in deciding to 4-bet bluff with small pairs is the nature of your opponent's 3-betting range. Against players who frequently 3-bet with a wide or polarized range, a 4-bet bluff becomes more viable. These opponents often include speculative hands and bluffs in their 3-betting arsenal, making them more susceptible to folding against a well-timed 4-bet. Recognizing these tendencies allows you to exploit their aggression by representing a stronger hand than you actually hold. Tournament play provides fertile ground for employing small pairs as 4-bet bluffs, particularly in the mid to late stages. As blinds escalate and pressure mounts, players become more protective of their stacks, increasing the likelihood of fold equity. In these scenarios, a well-executed 4-bet bluff can not only win the pot pre-flop, but also set a precedent that influences future dynamics at the table. However, it's crucial to balance such bluffs with value hands to maintain credibility and avoid becoming predictable. Despite the occasional use of small pairs in 4-bet bluffs, they seldom appear in 4-bet calling ranges. The inherent weakness of small pairs against typical 4-bet ranges, which often include high-value hands like aces, kings, and queens, makes calling a risky proposition. The equity of small pairs diminishes significantly in these confrontations, making it prudent to avoid calling 4-bets with them unless specific conditions justify it, such as having a strong read on an opponent's tendencies. Risk management is paramount when integrating 4-bet bluffs with small pairs into your strategy. The potential for significant chip loss exists if the play backfires, so it should be employed judiciously and with consideration of the broader context of the game. This includes evaluating the potential impact on your stack if the bluff fails, and ensuring that such plays do not compromise your ability to remain competitive in the tournament or cash game. Careful observation of opponents, strategic timing, and disciplined execution are essential to mitigate risks and maximize the effectiveness of this aggressive line. In summary, using small pocket pairs as 4-bet bluffs in Texas Hold'em involves a delicate balance of aggression, timing, and understanding of opponent behavior. By carefully assessing stack sizes, opponent tendencies, and the overall table dynamics, players can occasionally turn these seemingly weak hands into powerful tools for bluffing. However, the inherent risks necessitate a disciplined approach, ensuring that such strategies complement rather than compromise your overall game plan. Flat calling raises with small pocket pairs like deuces through sixes can often lead to unprofitable scenarios, particularly when the conditions are not ideal. Small pairs, while appealing for their potential to form strong sets, require careful consideration of the broader context in which they are played. In multiway pots, the challenges compound as the equity of small pairs diminishes. With more players involved, the likelihood of someone else hitting a stronger hand increases, making it difficult for small pairs to hold up by the river. This dilution of equity is a key reason why flat calling raises with small pairs in multi-way scenarios can be perilous. Reverse implied odds are another significant concern when flat calling with small pairs. While the goal is often to hit a set on the flop, the reality is that this will only happen about 1 in 8 times. When a set does not materialize, small pairs are left vulnerable on many board textures. Even when a set is flopped, there is still the risk of running into a higher set or a board that completes stronger draws for opponents. This potential for reverse implied odds requires players to exercise caution and evaluate whether the risk of losing a substantial pot outweighs the potential reward. The difficulty of post-flop play without improvement further complicates the decision to flat call with small pairs. If the flop misses, small pairs can become challenging to maneuver, especially against aggressive opponents who apply pressure with larger bets. The lack of board coverage means there are few opportunities to credibly represent a strong hand, making it difficult to continue in the hand without improvement. This often results in having to fold to further aggression, leading to a slow but steady leak of chips over time. Calling raises out of position with small pairs exacerbates these issues. Being out of position limits a player's ability to control the pot size and respond effectively to opponents' actions. Without the advantage of acting last, players with small pairs may find themselves in difficult spots, forced to make tough decisions with limited information. This lack of positional advantage can turn an already speculative holding into a liability, increasing the likelihood of making costly mistakes. Flat calling with small pairs becomes a losing habit when players do not account for these factors. It is crucial to recognize when the conditions are unfavorable and adjust strategy accordingly. Flat calling should be reserved for situations where the implied odds justify the call, such as when facing a single opponent with deep stacks and the potential for significant post-flop action. Without these favorable conditions, the habit of flat calling small pairs can lead to a gradual erosion of a player's stack, as the cumulative effect of small losses adds up over time. In summary, the decision to flat call raises with small pocket pairs requires careful consideration of the broader context, including multi-way dynamics, reverse implied odds, post-flop playability, and positional disadvantages. By understanding the pitfalls and adjusting strategy to avoid unprofitable situations, players can minimize leaks and make more informed decisions with small pairs. Small pocket pairs and suited connectors are both considered speculative hands in Texas Hold'em, each offering unique advantages and challenges. When comparing these two types of hands, the differences in playability post-flop become apparent. Small pairs, such as deuces through sixes, are primarily valued for their potential to hit a set on the flop. This set mining strategy relies on the ability to win a large pot when the board cooperates. However, this occurs infrequently, about 1 in 8 times. Suited connectors, on the other hand, like 7-8 suited or 9-10 suited, offer a broader range of possibilities. They can form straights, flushes, or even strong draws, providing more flexible avenues for post-flop play. The ability of suited connectors to realize equity more consistently than small pairs is a critical factor. Suited connectors can continue in the hand, with a variety of draws, increasing their potential to improve on later streets. This versatility allows players to apply pressure with semi-bluffs, or to extract value when their draws complete. In contrast, small pairs often struggle without improvement. When a set does not appear, these hands typically have limited options, often reduced to bluff catching or folding. As a result, suited connectors can maintain their value across a wider range of board textures. Set mining with small pairs focuses on the potential to hit a set, aiming for significant implied odds. This strategy requires deep stacks and opponents willing to commit substantial chips post-flop. Suited connectors, however, offer straight and flush draw potential, which can be pursued with less reliance on deep stacks. The ability to apply pressure with draws makes suited connectors more adaptable in various pot sizes and situations. This adaptability is particularly beneficial in games where the action is aggressive, and players are frequently betting and raising. In tournament settings, the value of small pairs and suited connectors can shift depending on the stage of the event. Early in tournaments when stacks are deeper, both hand types can be played more liberally. Small pairs can be used to set mine, while suited connectors can be played for their drawing potential. As the tournament progresses and stacks become shallower, the dynamics change. Suited connectors often retain more value due to their ability to create strong hands on later streets, even with limited chip depth. Small pairs, meanwhile, may lose some of their appeal as set mining becomes less viable without the necessary implied odds. In cash games, where stack sizes are typically larger and more consistent, both small pairs and suited connectors have their place. Small pairs can be profitable when set mining opportunities arise, especially against opponents who are likely to pay off big hands. Suited connectors, with their ability to realize equity through various draws, can thrive in cash games where players have the freedom to maneuver with deeper stacks. The choice between these hand types often depends on the specific table dynamics and the tendencies of opponents. There are situations where small pairs are preferred over suited connectors. Against opponents who are tight and passive, small pairs can be valuable for set mining, as the potential to extract value from a strong hand is higher. Additionally, in games where players are not prone to folding, the ability to hit a set and win a large pot becomes more appealing. Conversely, suited connectors may be more effective against aggressive opponents, where the ability to draw to strong hands or apply pressure with semi-bluffs can exploit their tendencies. Understanding the strengths and weaknesses of small pairs versus suited connectors allows players to make more informed decisions based on the context of the game. Each hand type offers unique opportunities and challenges, and the ability to adapt strategy accordingly is a valuable skill in maximizing profitability in Texas Hold'em. By recognizing when to favor one over the other, players can enhance their overall approach to speculative hands, navigating the complexities of the game with greater confidence and precision. Playing small pocket pairs like deuces through sixes becomes particularly interesting when you have deep stacks of around 100 big blinds. In these situations, the value of speculative hands increases significantly. The primary reason for this is the potential for large profit margins when you successfully hit a set on the flop. With deep stacks, the implied odds are more favorable, making it worthwhile to invest a small amount pre-flop for the chance to win a substantial pot. When you hold a small pair and see a flop with a set, the potential to extract maximum value from your opponents rises considerably. Opponents with overpairs or strong top pairs are often willing to commit a large portion of their stack, providing you with an opportunity to capitalize on their aggression. In deep stack play, the concept of set mining becomes a cornerstone strategy. Here, the goal is to call pre-flop raises with the intention of hitting a set on the flop. The deeper the stacks, the more justified this strategy becomes, as the potential reward far outweighs the initial investment. When stacks are deep, players are more likely to engage in post-flop battles, allowing you to extract more chips when your set hits. It's important to understand that while the likelihood of flopping a set remains around 12%, the payoff when successful can be substantial. This makes calling pre-flop raises with small pairs a profitable long-term strategy in deep stack scenarios. Maximizing the pot when a set connects is crucial. The key is to balance between fast playing and slow playing your strong hands. Fast playing involves betting and raising to build the pot quickly, often against opponents who are likely to pay off with weaker holdings. This approach works well when the board is draw-heavy, as it protects your set from potential straight or flush draws. Conversely, slow playing can be effective on dry boards where opponents are less likely to have strong hands. By checking or calling, you allow opponents to catch up or bluff, increasing the potential for larger bets on later streets. One must also consider reverse implied odds when playing small pairs against overpairs. Reverse implied odds refer to the potential losses incurred when your small pair does not improve, and you face significant aggression from opponents with stronger holdings. In deep stack play, this risk is magnified, as the cost of calling down with an unimproved pair can be substantial. Therefore, it is essential to tread carefully when facing aggressive opponents on boards that do not favor your hand. Recognizing when to fold and preserve your stack is a valuable skill in these situations. Adjusting continuation bets in deep stack games is another important aspect of playing small pairs. When you have deep stacks, the size and frequency of your continuation bets should be carefully considered. With small pairs, continuation betting on unfavorable boards can lead to unnecessary losses. Instead, focus on boards where your range can credibly represent strong hands. This approach helps maintain the integrity of your betting range and keeps opponents guessing. When your small pair misses the flop, consider the texture of the board and the tendencies of your opponents before deciding whether to continuation bet or check. Overall, playing small pairs with 100 big blinds requires a strategic balance of aggression and caution. The deep stacks provide the flexibility to engage in speculative play, but they also demand discipline to avoid overcommitting with weak holdings. By focusing on set mining, maximizing value when sets hit, and carefully managing continuation bets, you can effectively navigate the complexities of deep stack poker with small pairs. When playing small pocket pairs like deuces through sixes at a medium stack depth of 40 big blinds, the dynamics of the game shift considerably. At this stack size, the profitability of set mining diminishes due to reduced implied odds. The potential reward from hitting a set on the flop is less compelling when the stacks are not deep enough to extract significant value from opponents. This makes it crucial to reassess how you approach these hands, as the margin for error becomes narrower and the room for post-flop maneuverability is limited. With 40 big blinds, the emphasis on fold equity pre-flop increases. In this context, fold equity refers to the chance that opponents will fold to your bets or raises, allowing you to win the pot without a showdown. When opening with small pairs from any position, consider the likelihood that your opponents will fold to your aggression. This is particularly important in tournament settings, where accumulating chips without confrontation can be advantageous. The ability to apply pressure and force folds can add significant value to your small pairs, compensating for the reduced implied odds of set mining. In some situations, shoving all-in pre-flop with small pairs becomes a more viable strategy than calling for set mining. This is especially true when facing aggressive opponents, or when the table dynamics suggest that a shove could successfully take down the pot. The decision to shove should be based on several factors, including the tendencies of your opponents, the size of the blinds and antes, and your position at the table. By shoving, you maximize your fold equity and avoid the complexities of post-flop play with a marginal hand. This approach can be particularly effective in tournaments where the pressure of rising blinds and antes makes chip accumulation a priority. Responding to re-steals after opening with small pairs is another critical consideration at 40 big blinds. A re-steal occurs when an opponent re-raises your open with the intention of taking the pot away from you. When faced with a re-steal, evaluate the strength of your hand against the potential range of your opponent. Small pairs often struggle against the stronger ranges typically associated with re-steals, making it important to assess whether continuing with the hand is justified. In many cases, folding to a re-steal may be the most prudent decision, preserving your stack for more favorable opportunities. The approach to playing small pairs at this stack depth varies between tournament and cash game formats. In tournaments, the pressure to maintain and grow your stack is more pronounced due to the escalating blinds and antes. This often necessitates a more aggressive approach, leveraging fold equity and shoving in spots where it is profitable. Conversely, in cash games, the ability to reload your stack allows for a more conservative strategy, focusing on set mining when the conditions are right. The absence of rising blinds in cash games means that you can afford to wait for optimal situations to capitalize on the value of your small pairs. Overall, playing small pocket pairs with 40 big blinds requires a strategic adjustment to account for the reduced profitability of set mining and the increased importance of fold equity. By carefully considering when to apply pressure, when to shove, and how to respond to aggression, you can navigate the challenges of medium stack play and maximize the potential of your small pairs in both tournament and cash game settings. When playing with a short stack of fewer than 20 big blinds, small pocket pairs like deuces through sixes transform into shove or fold hands. This strategic shift is driven by the limited post-flop maneuverability and the need to maximize fold equity. At this stack depth, the primary focus is on survival and chip accumulation, making it essential to understand the equity dynamics and optimal shoving ranges. With small pairs such as 22-66, the decision to shove all-in pre-flop becomes a critical component of short stack strategy. The goal is to leverage the fold equity that comes from the threat of an all-in bet. By shoving, you put pressure on your opponents, forcing them to make difficult decisions with marginal hands. This pressure can lead to folds, allowing you to pick up the blinds and antes without a showdown. The effectiveness of this strategy depends on the tendencies of your opponents and the overall table dynamics. In general, shoving with small pairs is more effective against opponents who are likely to fold to aggression, particularly in tournament settings where survival is paramount. When evaluating the equity of small pocket pairs in all-in situations, it is important to consider the concept of flip equity. Small pairs often find themselves in coin flip scenarios against overcards like ace-king or ace-queen. In these matchups, the equity is roughly 50-50, meaning that both hands have a similar chance of winning. Understanding this dynamic helps in making informed decisions about when to shove. While the outcome of a coin flip is inherently uncertain, the potential to double up and significantly improve your stack can justify taking these risks, especially when the alternative is to be blinded out. Fold equity plays a crucial role in short stack play with small pairs. When you push all in, the probability that your opponents will fold increases, particularly if they perceive your range to be strong. The ability to force folds with an all-in shove adds value to your small pairs, as it allows you to win pots without having to rely solely on the strength of your hand. This is particularly advantageous in tournament play, where preserving your stack and avoiding unnecessary confrontations is vital for longevity. This is particularly important in tournament settings, where accumulating chips without confrontation can be advantageous. Survival considerations become increasingly important in tournaments when playing with a short stack. The pressure of rising blinds and antes means that every decision carries significant weight. With small pairs, the decision to shove should be made with the understanding that survival is the priority. This often means taking calculated risks to accumulate chips and stay in the game. The risk of running into bigger pairs is always present, but the potential reward of doubling up often outweighs the downside of elimination. It is crucial to recognize when the benefits of an aggressive shove outweigh the risks, especially in situations where the blinds and antes are eating away at your stack. Despite the inherent risks, running into bigger pairs is a reality of short stack play with small pocket pairs. When facing an opponent's call, there is always the possibility that they hold a higher pair, significantly diminishing your equity in the hand. In these situations, it is important to remain composed and accept the variance that comes with poker. Understanding that these scenarios are a natural part of the game can help maintain focus and prevent tilt. By approaching short stack play with a clear strategy and an acceptance of the inherent risks, you can navigate the challenges of playing small pairs with fewer than 20 big blinds effectively. Small pocket pairs, ranging from deuces to sixes, present unique challenges and opportunities in poker. Their value and strategic approach differ significantly between cash games and tournaments. In deep stack cash games, the primary appeal of small pairs lies in their potential for set mining. The implied odds in these games are often favorable, allowing players to call pre-flop raises with the hope of flopping a set and winning a large pot. The deeper the stacks, the more profitable this strategy becomes, as there is a greater potential to extract value from opponents holding strong overpairs or top pairs. The key in cash games is patience and discipline, waiting for the right conditions to capitalize on the hidden strength of a set. In contrast, tournament play introduces a different dynamic for small pairs. As blinds and antes increase, the pressure to accumulate chips intensifies. This environment often turns small pairs into viable shove candidates, especially when stack sizes dwindle. The rising blinds and antes reduce the effectiveness of set mining due to diminished implied odds, making aggressive pre-flop play more appealing. In tournaments, the focus shifts from purely speculative play to a balance between aggression and survival. The ability to apply pressure with all-in shoves can force opponents to fold better hands, allowing players to pick up pots without seeing a flop. This strategy can be particularly effective in late stages, where the threat of elimination looms large. Variance plays a significant role in the approach to small pairs across these formats. In cash games, the steady nature of deep stacks allows for a more controlled environment, where players can afford to wait for favorable situations. The risk of variance is mitigated by the possibility of rebuying, enabling players to endure the swings associated with speculative hands like small pairs. In tournaments, however, the inability to rebuy amplifies the impact of variance. Each decision carries greater weight, as the potential for elimination is ever present. This heightened risk necessitates a more calculated approach, where the timing and execution of shoves with small pairs must be carefully considered. The risk-reward balance of speculative play with small pairs is also influenced by the format. In cash games, the reward is often tied to the potential for winning large pots when a set is flopped. The risk is minimized by the ability to fold pre-flop when conditions are not ideal. In tournaments, the reward of successfully shoving with small pairs can be substantial, as it allows players to accumulate chips and improve their position. However, the risk is magnified by the potential for elimination, emphasizing the importance of strategic aggression and timing. Discipline becomes a critical component of playing small pairs in tournaments. The pressure of rising blinds and the threat of elimination demand a more disciplined approach to decision-making. Players must resist the temptation to overplay small pairs in unfavorable situations, recognizing when to fold and conserve their stack for more opportune moments. This discipline is less pronounced in cash games, where the ability to rebuy provides a safety net for speculative play. In tournaments, however, the stakes are higher and the margin for error is smaller, requiring a more refined and cautious approach to small pair strategy. Understanding the nuances of small pair play in both cash games and tournaments is essential for maximizing their potential. Each format presents distinct challenges and opportunities, requiring players to adapt their strategies accordingly. In cash games, the focus is on leveraging implied odds and patiently waiting for the right moments to strike. In tournaments, the emphasis shifts to strategic aggression and survival, balancing the risk of elimination with the reward of chip accumulation. By mastering these approaches, players can effectively navigate the complexities of small pair play across different poker formats. In the early stages of a poker tournament, players often find themselves with deep stacks, providing the perfect landscape for speculative hands like small pocket pairs. These pairs, ranging from deuces to sixes, hold the potential to build substantial pots when they connect with the board. The primary strategy in these opening levels revolves around set mining, where the aim is to see a flop cheaply and hope to hit a set. With deep stacks, the implied odds are favorable, allowing players to call pre-flop raises with the expectation of extracting significant value from opponents holding strong hands. When considering set mining, it is essential to evaluate the stack sizes of both yourself and your opponents. Ideally, the effective stack should be at least 20 times the size of the pre-flop raise. This ratio ensures that the potential payout justifies the initial investment. The deeper the stacks, the more lucrative the set mining becomes, as there is a greater likelihood of winning a large pot if the set is achieved. However, it's crucial to remain cautious and avoid overcommitting if the flop does not improve your hand. The discipline to fold when the board is unfavorable is key to preserving chips for future opportunities. Open raising with small pairs in early tournament levels requires careful consideration of table dynamics and opponent tendencies. Before the antes are introduced, the size of your open raise can vary, but it generally falls between 2 and 3 times the big blind. This sizing is sufficient to build the pot, while maintaining a manageable investment. The goal is to balance your range, occasionally raising with small pairs to keep opponents guessing about your holdings. This unpredictability can pay dividends later in the tournament, when your image has been established as balanced and strategic. Avoiding marginal coin flips is another critical aspect of early tournament play with small pairs. These hands, while potentially strong, are vulnerable to being dominated by larger pairs or overcards. Engaging in pre-flop all-ins or large confrontations with small pairs at this stage can jeopardize your tournament life unnecessarily. Instead, focus on controlling the pot size and extracting value in more favorable situations. The patience to wait for better spots is a hallmark of successful tournament players, ensuring that they do not squander their stack in the pursuit of marginal gains. Building a balanced image early in the tournament is crucial for long-term success. By occasionally raising with small pairs, you create a dynamic where opponents cannot easily categorize your range. This ambiguity allows you to capitalize on future opportunities, as opponents may be more inclined to pay off your strong hands or fold to your aggression. The balance between aggression and caution defines the early levels, where preserving your stack while setting the stage for future maneuvers is paramount. In summary, small pocket pairs in the early stages of a tournament present both opportunities and challenges. The deep stacks provide the necessary cushion for speculative play, with set mining offering the potential for substantial rewards. However, discipline and patience are essential to navigate the early levels without jeopardizing your tournament life. By carefully managing open raise sizes, avoiding unnecessary coin flips, and building a balanced image, you lay the foundation for a successful tournament run. The key is to remain adaptable and responsive to the evolving dynamics of the table, ensuring that your strategy is both effective and sustainable as the tournament progresses. As the tournament progresses into the middle stages, the dynamics shift significantly, and the approach to playing small pocket pairs like deuces through sixes requires careful adjustment. The rising blinds and antes reduce the effective stack sizes, which in turn diminishes the implied odds that make set mining profitable. In these conditions, the focus must shift from passive set mining to a more aggressive strategy aimed at stealing blinds and antes. With stacks becoming shallower, each chip gained or saved becomes increasingly valuable, necessitating a more proactive approach. The reduced stack depths mean that calling pre-flop raises with small pairs solely for set mining purposes becomes less viable. The potential reward from hitting a set must be weighed against the cost of the call and the likelihood of extracting further value from opponents. As a general rule, if the effective stack is not at least 15 to 20 times the size of the pre-flop raise, the implied odds are insufficient to justify a call. Instead, players must consider other strategies, such as open shoving, particularly when the stack size falls below 20 big blinds. Open shoving small pairs in the middle stages can be a profitable move under the right circumstances. When the stack size is in the range of 10 to 20 big blinds, open shoving can apply maximum pressure on opponents, forcing them to make difficult decisions. This strategy leverages the fold equity gained from the threat of elimination, allowing players to pick up blinds and antes uncontested. The key is to recognize spots where opponents are likely to fold, such as when they are also nursing medium stacks and are risk-averse to flipping for their tournament life. Dealing with increased 3-bet aggression is another challenge in the middle stages. As players become more aggressive, particularly those with larger stacks, it is crucial to adapt by tightening your opening range. When facing a 3-bet, after raising with a small pair, consider the opponent's tendencies and stack size. If the opponent is aggressive and the stack depth allows, a 4-bet shove might be an effective counter, especially if the opponent is likely to fold to such aggression. However, if the stack sizes are deeper and the opponent is unlikely to fold, it may be more prudent to fold and preserve chips for more favorable situations. Exploiting medium stacks who avoid flips is a strategic opportunity in the middle stages. Many players with medium stacks are cautious, aiming to avoid high variance situations that could jeopardize their tournament standing. By recognizing these players, you can apply pressure with small pairs, particularly in late position, where your range is perceived to be wider. By raising or shoving against these players, you can capitalize on their reluctance to engage in marginal spots, thereby increasing your chip stack without contest. In summary, the middle stages of a tournament require a shift from passive to aggressive play, with small pocket pairs. The reduced implied odds necessitate a focus on stealing blinds and antes, while open shoving becomes a viable option when stack sizes shrink. Adapting to increased aggression from opponents and exploiting the cautious tendencies of medium stacks are essential for maintaining and building your chip stack. The ability to adjust your strategy in response to the evolving tournament dynamics is key to navigating the middle stages successfully with small pairs. At the final table, small pocket pairs such as deuces through sixes require a nuanced approach, influenced heavily by independent chip model ICM considerations. The payout implications at this stage of the tournament significantly reduce the absolute value of small pairs. Players must be acutely aware of the financial jumps between finishing positions and how this affects decision-making. ICM pressures often dictate that preserving your stack and avoiding unnecessary risks becomes more important than simply chasing chip accumulation. This means that even when holding a small pair, which might seem strong in other contexts, the correct play might be to fold, especially when facing aggression from players who cover you in chips. The value of small pairs diminishes because the risk of elimination outweighs the potential chip gain. For instance, if a player with a mid-size stack pushes all in and you hold a small pair, calling might seem tempting due to the pair's inherent strength. However, the ICM implications suggest that losing the hand could severely impact your tournament equity. Thus, folding becomes a more prudent option, unless you have a stack size that allows you to absorb the loss without significant damage to your standing. Shoving opportunities with small pairs do arise, particularly against opponents who are risk-averse and aware of ICM themselves. These players are often looking to avoid confrontation unless they hold premium hands. By shoving with a small pair, you leverage the fold equity derived from their cautious approach. This tactic is especially effective when you have a short stack relative to the blinds and antes, as it maximizes your chance of stealing the pot without seeing a flop. However, it's crucial to assess the table dynamics and identify which opponents are most likely to fold to pressure. In heads-up or short-handed play, the value of small pairs increases. The ranges of hands that players are willing to play broaden significantly, making any pair a strong hand. In these scenarios, small pairs can be played more aggressively, both pre-flop and post-flop. The potential reward from hitting a set must be weighed against the cost of the call and the likelihood of extracting further value from opponents. Therefore, in heads-up play, small pairs can be used more confidently to apply pressure and capture blinds and antes. Famous examples of small pairs at final tables highlight both the potential and the pitfalls of these hands. In high-stakes tournaments, there have been instances where players have doubled up or even won crucial hands by shoving with small pairs, capitalizing on fold equity and the pressure of the moment. Conversely, there are also stories of players who have fallen victim to the allure of playing small pairs too aggressively, only to be eliminated when they ran into stronger hands. These examples serve as a reminder of the delicate balance required when navigating the final table with small pairs. Understanding the intricacies of ICM and how it affects decision-making with small pairs is essential for success at the final table. The pressure to make the right move is intense, and the consequences of each decision are magnified. By recognizing when to push and when to fold, players can use small pairs effectively to maintain and grow their stack, while avoiding the traps that come with overvaluing these speculative hands. The bubble phase of a poker tournament is a pivotal moment where the stakes shift dramatically. Players find themselves on the cusp of reaching the money, where every decision carries the weight of potential financial gain or loss. In this high-pressure environment, small pocket pairs, such as deuces through sixes, require a strategic approach that balances aggression with caution. The key to navigating the bubble effectively lies in understanding when to apply pressure with these speculative hands and when to exercise restraint to avoid unnecessary risks. Aggression with small pairs can be a powerful tool against opponents who are overly protective of their stacks. As the bubble approaches, many players become risk-averse, focusing on survival rather than chip accumulation. This mindset creates opportunities to exploit their caution by using small pairs to apply pressure. By raising or shoving with a small pair, you can often force folds from players unwilling to risk their tournament life, especially if they hold marginal hands. This strategy relies on the fold equity generated by the fear of elimination, allowing you to accumulate chips without seeing a flop. Spotting profitable shove opportunities near the bubble is crucial for maximizing the value of small pairs. The objective is to identify situations where your opponents are likely to fold, allowing you to steal the blinds and antes. Ideal scenarios include targeting players with medium stacks, who are just trying to survive the bubble, or those who have shown a tendency to fold to aggression. Timing is essential, as shoving too frequently or against the wrong opponents can backfire. Observing table dynamics and understanding each player's tendencies can help you choose the right moments to push your chips in with confidence. Adjusting for ICM pressure in shove-fold decisions is another critical aspect of bubble play with small pairs. The independent chip model, ICM, places greater emphasis on chip preservation as the bubble looms. This means that while aggression can be beneficial, it must be tempered by the potential impact of losing a significant portion of your stack. When holding a small pair, it's important to weigh the risk of elimination against the potential chip gain. If the likelihood of facing a strong hand is high, it may be prudent to fold and wait for a more favorable situation. Avoiding coin flips when survival is paramount is a strategy that can preserve your tournament life. Small pairs often find themselves in classic coin flip scenarios against overcards, where the outcome is uncertain. During the bubble, minimizing variance by avoiding these situations can be advantageous. Instead of engaging in marginal all-ins, focus on exploiting spots where you have a clear edge, or where the risk is minimal. By doing so, you increase your chances of reaching the money without jeopardizing your stack unnecessarily. Exploiting opponents who tighten up excessively is a tactic that can yield significant rewards. As the bubble approaches, many players tighten their ranges, unwilling to risk busting out before securing a payout. This behavior creates opportunities to chip up by applying pressure with small pairs. Recognizing players who have shifted to a more passive style allows you to target them with well-timed raises and shoves. By capitalizing on their fear, you can build your stack while they fold away their equity. In summary, bubble play with small pocket pairs demands a delicate balance between aggression and caution. Understanding when to apply pressure and when to preserve your stack is crucial for navigating this critical phase. By exploiting opponents' tendencies and adjusting for ICM pressure, you can maximize the value of small pairs and increase your chances of reaching the money. The independent chip model, or ICM, plays a significant role in poker tournaments, particularly when handling small pocket pairs like deuces through sixes. Unlike cash games, where chip value remains constant, tournament chips fluctuate in worth based on the stage of the event and the payout structure. Understanding the intricacies of ICM and how it affects decision-making with small pairs is essential for success at the final table. The ICM emphasizes the importance of chip preservation, especially as the tournament progresses and the money bubble approaches. Understanding these adjustments is crucial for making optimal decisions with small pairs in high-pressure situations. When dealing with small pocket pairs, the ICM often dictates that folding is the correct choice, even when equity calculations might suggest otherwise. In many instances, the risk of losing a significant portion of your stack outweighs the potential gain from winning a pot. This is particularly true when the tournament is nearing a payout threshold. For example, if you are on the bubble or close to a major pay jump, the value of preserving your stack can be greater than the potential chip gain from playing a marginal hand like 22-66. The decision to fold in such spots is driven by the need to maintain tournament life and leverage future opportunities when the risk is lower. Small pairs can become automatic folds in scenarios where the ICM pressure is high. This typically occurs when your stack is at a critical level, where losing even a small amount could jeopardize your ability to survive the bubble or reach a significant payout. In these situations, the ICM encourages a conservative approach, opting to fold even when the pot odds are tempting. The rationale is that maintaining a viable stack for future hands can provide better opportunities to accumulate chips with less risk. Recognizing these situations is key to making disciplined decisions that align with long-term tournament success. Exploiting opponents who fail to account for ICM is a strategy that can enhance your position in the tournament. Many players, particularly less experienced ones, might not fully understand the implications of ICM and continue to play aggressively with small pairs, even when it is not advisable. By observing these tendencies, you can adjust your strategy to capitalize on their mistakes. This could involve applying pressure to players who overvalue their small pairs, or taking advantage of those who are too passive, fearing the ICM consequences. The goal is to identify and exploit these missteps to improve your own standing without taking unnecessary risks. Adapting strategies for payout structure pressures involves a keen awareness of the tournament's specific payout schedule. Different structures can place varying levels of ICM pressure on players, influencing how small pairs should be played. For example, in a tournament with steep payout jumps, the ICM pressure is more intense, necessitating a more cautious approach with speculative hands. Conversely, flatter payout structures might allow for slightly more aggressive play, as the relative value of each chip is more consistent across different positions. Understanding these nuances helps in making informed decisions that align with the tournament's unique dynamics. In conclusion, the ICM's impact on small pair decisions is profound, requiring a shift in focus from pure equity to strategic chip preservation. By understanding the ICM adjustments needed for playing 2266, recognizing automatic fold situations, exploiting opponents' ICM missteps, and adapting to payout pressures, players can navigate tournaments more effectively. This strategic approach ensures that small pairs are played optimally, maximizing their value while minimizing unnecessary risks in the pursuit of tournament success. Small pocket pairs, such as deuces through sixes, often face the challenge of not improving on the flop. In these moments, understanding how to navigate post-flop play becomes crucial. When holding an unimproved small pair, the decision to continuation bet requires careful consideration of several factors. First, assess the board texture. A dry, uncoordinated board with high cards can be a favorable situation to continuation bet, as it is less likely to have connected with your opponent's range. Here, the opponent might fold to perceived strength, allowing you to take down the pot without further contest. However, if the board is wet and coordinated, featuring potential straight or flush draws, the likelihood of an opponent having connected increases, making a continuation bet riskier. Identifying safe versus dangerous flop textures is essential for effective post-flop play with small pairs. Safe boards are those that are less likely to have hit your opponent's range and do not offer many drawing opportunities. For instance, a flop like King 7 Deuce Rainbow is generally safer, as it is unlikely to have improved your opponent's hand significantly unless they hold a king. On the other hand, a flop like 10-9-8 with two of the same suit presents a dangerous texture, as it opens up numerous straight and flush possibilities. In these situations, caution is advised, as the potential for your opponent to have a strong hand or a strong draw is high. Using small pairs as bluff catchers in single-raised pots can be a viable strategy, particularly when facing opponents prone to bluffing. If you find yourself against an aggressive player who frequently continuation bets, your small pair can serve as a bluff catcher on certain board textures. This approach requires a keen understanding of your opponent's tendencies and an ability to read the board accurately. If the board texture suggests that your opponent is unlikely to have connected well, and you suspect a bluff, calling with your small pair might be the best course of action. However, this strategy should be employed selectively, as it can lead to costly mistakes if misjudged. In multiway pots, the dynamics change significantly when holding an unimproved small pair. The presence of multiple opponents increases the likelihood that someone has connected with the board. Therefore, proceeding with caution is paramount. Continuation betting into several opponents is generally ill-advised, unless the board is exceptionally dry and you believe it has missed most of their ranges. Instead, checking and evaluating the action can provide valuable information about the strength of your opponent's hands, allowing you to make more informed decisions on later streets. Avoiding overcommitting without a set is a fundamental principle when playing small pairs post-flop. It can be tempting to continue betting or calling in hopes of improving on the turn or river, but this often leads to unnecessary losses. Recognizing when your small pair is unlikely to be the best hand and being willing to fold is a sign of disciplined play. This approach helps preserve your stack for more favorable situations where you can leverage your position and hand strength more effectively. In conclusion, playing small pocket pairs post-flop when they do not improve involves a delicate balance of aggression and caution. By carefully assessing board textures, understanding opponent tendencies, and recognizing when to employ small pairs as bluff catchers, you can navigate these tricky situations with greater confidence. Remember, the key is to minimize losses when your hand is weak and to capitalize on opportunities when they arise, all while maintaining a disciplined approach to your overall strategy. Flopping a set with small pocket pairs is a moment of opportunity in poker, a chance to capitalize on a strong hand that can often lead to significant gains. When you find yourself in this fortuitous position, the decision between fast playing and slow playing your set becomes crucial. Fast playing involves betting or raising to build the pot quickly, capitalizing on the strength of your hand, while your opponents may still be willing to commit chips. This approach is particularly effective against opponents holding over pairs or strong draws, as they might be inclined to call or raise, allowing you to extract maximum value. On the other hand, slow playing a set involves a more cautious approach, checking or calling to disguise the strength of your hand. This strategy can be effective when the board is dry and unlikely to improve your opponent's hands significantly. By allowing them to catch up or attempt bluffs, you can extract additional value on later streets. However, slow playing carries the risk of giving free cards that could improve an opponent's hand, so it requires a keen understanding of the board texture and your opponent's tendencies. Building pots against overpairs is a key aspect of maximizing value with a flopped set. When your opponent holds an overpair, they are often willing to invest heavily, believing their hand to be strong. In these situations, fast playing your set can lead to substantial pots, as they may continue betting or even raise your bets. The goal is to encourage them to commit as many chips as possible, capitalizing on their perceived strength. By maintaining a consistent betting pattern, you can often induce them to continue investing, unaware of the trap they are walking into. Avoiding scare cards that kill action is another important consideration when playing a set. Scare cards are those that could complete potential draws, or bring higher cards that make your opponents cautious. For example, if the board is coordinated with two suited cards, a third of the same suit on the turn could complete a flush, causing opponents to slow down. Similarly, high cards can connect with your opponent's ranges, making them less likely to continue betting. Recognizing these potential scare cards and adjusting your strategy accordingly can help maintain the momentum of the hand and ensure you extract the most value. Extracting value from weaker top pairs is a nuanced aspect of set play. When your opponent holds a top pair with a strong kicker, they may be inclined to call substantial bets, believing their hand to be ahead. By sizing your bets appropriately, you can encourage them to continue calling, extracting maximum value from their perceived strength. This involves a delicate balance, as betting too aggressively may scare them off, while betting too passively could leave value on the table. Managing board textures where sets are vulnerable is crucial to preserving the value of your hand. On coordinated boards that offer straight or flush possibilities, the value of your set can diminish if opponents are drawing to stronger hands. In these situations, fast playing your set can be advantageous, as it forces opponents to pay a premium for their draws. This not only increases the pot size, but also protects your hand from being outdrawn. However, if the board is particularly dangerous, it may be wise to proceed with caution, recognizing when to slow down and control the pot size to avoid unnecessary risks. In conclusion, flopping a set with small pairs is a powerful position that requires strategic finesse to maximize profit. By carefully considering whether to fast play or slow play, building pots against overpairs, avoiding scare cards, extracting value from weaker top pairs, and managing vulnerable board textures, you can navigate these situations with confidence. Each decision should be guided by a clear understanding of the board and your opponents, ensuring that you make the most of this advantageous scenario. When you find yourself holding a small pocket pair, like 2s through 6s, and the flop reveals a trio of high cards, your hand's strength diminishes significantly. In these situations, it is crucial to accurately evaluate the board and your opponent's potential holdings. High card flops, such as those featuring kings, queens, or aces, often connect well with the pre-flop raising ranges of many players. This means that your small pair is likely behind, and the chances of improvement are slim. Recognizing when your hand is weak is the first step in making prudent decisions to minimize losses. Distinguishing between safe and dangerous boards is essential when deciding on your next move. A safe board for small pairs might be one where the high cards are disconnected and rainbow, reducing the likelihood of strong-made hands or draws. For example, a flop of King 7-3 with 3 different suits poses less of a threat than a flop of King Queen Jack with 2 cards of the same suit. The latter board is ripe for straights, 2 pairs, and flush draws, making it dangerous for your small pair. Understanding these nuances helps you determine the level of risk involved and adjust your strategy accordingly. Deciding whether to bluff or check fold requires careful consideration of your position and the tendencies of your opponents. If you are in position and the board is not overly coordinated, a continuation bet might convince your opponents to fold weaker hands or draws. This play relies on fold equity, the likelihood that your opponents will fold to your bet. However, if you face resistance or the board texture is particularly threatening, opting to check fold might be the more prudent choice. This approach conserves your chips for more favorable situations, especially when your hand lacks the potential to improve. Using your position effectively can help reduce losses when playing small pairs on high card boards. Being in position allows you to gather more information about your opponent's actions before making your decision. If your opponent checks to you, it might indicate weakness, giving you the opportunity to take control of the pot with a bet. Conversely, if they lead out with a strong bet, you have the flexibility to fold without committing additional chips. Position provides a valuable advantage, allowing you to play more cautiously when your hand is vulnerable. Avoiding costly mistakes against aggressive opponents is crucial when navigating high card boards with small pairs. Aggressive players are likely to apply pressure with a wide range of hands, making it tempting to call down with a pair, hoping they are bluffing. However, this can lead to significant losses if your opponent holds a legitimate hand. Instead, exercise discipline by folding when the board is unfavorable and the aggression persists. Recognizing when to let go of a weak pair is a key skill that prevents unnecessary chip hemorrhage against opponents who thrive on pressure. In these scenarios, the ability to read the board and your opponent's actions becomes paramount. By assessing the texture of the flop, understanding the implications of your position, and anticipating your opponent's tendencies, you can navigate these challenging situations with greater confidence. Small pairs may lose much of their value on high card boards, but with careful play, you can mitigate potential losses and preserve your stack for more advantageous opportunities. Small pocket pairs, such as 2s through 6s, often find themselves in situations where their inherent strength is limited. However, they can still be used effectively in semi-bluffing scenarios, especially when additional equity is present. Semi-bluffing involves betting or raising with a hand that is not currently the best but has the potential to improve. In the case of small pairs, this potential often comes from backdoor draws, such as a backdoor straight or flush draw. These draws provide additional ways to win the pot if your initial semi-bluff does not immediately succeed. When holding a small pair, a backdoor flush draw might occur if you have a pair of 3s with one of them being a heart, and the flop contains 2 hearts. Although you do not have a flush draw yet, the possibility of hearts appearing on the turn and river gives you a chance to complete a flush. Similarly, a backdoor straight draw might arise if you hold pocket 4s and the flop shows 5, 6, 9. Here, a 7 and an 8 on subsequent streets could complete a straight. These backdoor draws add layers to your hand, enhancing the viability of a semi-bluff. Coordinated boards, where multiple cards are connected or suited, present prime opportunities for semi-bluffing with small pairs. For example, if you hold pocket 5s and the flop comes 4, 6, 7, the board is ripe for straight possibilities. Even if you do not currently have the best hand, the threat of a straight or a strong draw can pressure opponents into folding. Semi-bluffing on such boards leverages the potential of your hand, while also exploiting the fold equity generated by the perceived strength of the board. Fold equity is a critical component of successful semi-bluffing. It refers to the likelihood that your opponent will fold to your bet, allowing you to win the pot without needing to improve your hand. When you combine fold equity with the actual equity of your small pair and potential draws, you create a powerful strategy that forces your opponent to make difficult decisions. If they fold, you win the pot immediately. If they call, you still have the chance to improve on later streets. Turn barreling provides another opportunity to capitalize on semi-bluffing with small pairs. This involves making a second bet on the turn after your initial bet on the flop. If the turn card enhances your draw or adds additional outs, such as turning a backdoor flush draw into a legitimate flush draw, barreling can apply significant pressure on your opponent. The turn is often a pivotal moment in a hand, and maintaining aggression can lead to folds from opponents who are unsure of their hand strength. Balancing semi-bluff frequencies is essential to maintain an unpredictable and effective strategy. If you semi-bluff too frequently, observant opponents may catch on and adjust their play to exploit your tendencies. Conversely, if you rarely semi-bluff, you miss opportunities to capitalize on fold equity and the potential improvement of your hand. Striking the right balance involves mixing semi-bluffs with value bets and pure bluffs, creating a range that keeps your opponents guessing. Incorporating small pairs into semi-bluffing strategies requires a keen understanding of board textures, opponent tendencies, and the potential for your hand to improve. By leveraging backdoor draws, exploiting coordinated boards, and combining fold equity with pair equity, you can turn seemingly weak holdings into powerful weapons. The art of semi-bluffing lies in its ability to apply pressure and create opportunities for both immediate and future success. Blocker effects in poker refer to the influence certain cards have on the likelihood of opponents holding specific hands. While small pocket pairs, such as 2s through 6s, might not initially seem like strong blockers, they do interact with ranges in subtle ways. Understanding these interactions can enhance decision-making, particularly in situations where knowing the potential holdings of opponents is crucial. Small pairs can remove set combinations from an opponent's range. For example, if you hold pocket 3s, it becomes less likely that your opponent holds a set of 3s, as you possess 2 of the cards needed for that hand. This reduction in combinations can be significant when assessing the strength of your opponent's range, especially on boards where sets are a common part of the value range. Small pairs also block certain straight possibilities. Consider holding pocket 4s on a board of 2, 3, 5. Your 4s block some of the potential straight combinations an opponent might hold. This can be particularly useful in determining whether to continue aggression or exercise caution. By recognizing the reduced likelihood of an opponent having a straight, you can make more informed decisions about betting, raising, or folding. However, it's important to note that the blocker utility of small pairs is limited compared to high cards. High cards often block more significant parts of an opponent's range, such as top pairs or high card draws. Small pairs, while useful in specific contexts, do not offer the same level of range reduction. This means that while they can provide some insight, they should not be the sole factor in decision-making. Incorporating small pairs into balanced 3-bet ranges is another area where blocker effects come into play. By including hands like pocket 5s in your 3-bet range, you add deception to your strategy. Opponents may not expect such holdings in a 3-bet scenario, allowing you to capitalize on their assumptions. This balance prevents opponents from easily reading your range and provides opportunities to exploit their tendencies. Tournament shove spots present unique opportunities to apply blocker logic with small pairs. In situations where opponents are likely to call with strong hands, recognizing the blocking effect of your small pair can guide your decision to shove or fold. For instance, if you hold pocket sixes in a late-stage tournament, the presence of your pair can reduce the likelihood of opponents holding higher pairs, potentially increasing the fold equity of your shove. Understanding the nuances of blocker effects with small pairs requires a keen awareness of board textures and opponent tendencies. While small pairs may not offer the same level of blocking power as higher cards, their ability to influence ranges should not be overlooked. By recognizing how these pairs interact with potential hands, you can make more strategic decisions that capitalize on the subtle advantages they provide. Incorporating blocker logic into your overall strategy enhances your ability to navigate complex situations and exploit opponent weaknesses. Small pocket pairs like 2s through 6s can occasionally serve as effective bluff catchers when facing opponents who tend to overbluff. Recognizing these situations is crucial for making profitable decisions. Players who barrel too frequently often provide opportunities for small pairs to shine in this role. These opponents typically display aggressive tendencies, betting persistently across multiple streets without necessarily holding a strong hand. By identifying such opponents, you can exploit their aggression by calling down with small pairs when the conditions are right. Favorable board textures play a significant role in determining whether to use small pairs as bluff catchers. Boards that are dry and uncoordinated, such as those with low, disconnected cards, are less likely to connect with an opponent's range. On these boards, aggressive players might continue betting with air, hoping to push you off your hand. Your small pair, while not a powerhouse, may still be ahead of their bluffs. In contrast, wet boards with connected or suited cards often favor the aggressor, as they offer more opportunities for legitimate draws and made hands. On such textures, the risk of calling with a small pair increases, as the likelihood of facing a strong hand or a draw is higher. The risk-reward balance of calling with bottom pairs hinges on the potential gain versus the cost of being wrong. When you call down a bluff with a small pair, the reward is often substantial, as you win a pot that many players might have folded away. However, the risk lies in the possibility that your opponent is betting for value with a stronger hand. To mitigate this risk, it's essential to have a clear read on your opponent's tendencies and to consider the overall pot odds. If the potential reward outweighs the risk of losing, calling with a small pair can be justified. Position is another critical factor in bluff-catching decisions. Being in position allows you to gather more information about your opponent's actions before making a decision. When you act last, you can observe how your opponent plays the hand across each street, giving you valuable insights into their hand strength. This advantage can guide your decision to call with a small pair, as you can better assess whether their bets represent genuine strength or a bluff. Conversely, when out of position, you have less information and must rely more heavily on your read of the opponent and the board texture. Despite the potential for profit, it's important to avoid over-reliance on small pairs as bluff catchers. While they can occasionally win pots against aggressive opponents, they are not strong hands by nature. Overusing them in this role can lead to significant losses, especially against players who adjust their strategies or who hold genuine value hands. It's crucial to maintain a balanced approach, using small pairs as bluff catchers, selectively and in conjunction with other strategic elements, such as board texture and opponent tendencies. In summary, small pocket pairs can be valuable tools for bluff catching when used judiciously. Recognizing aggressive opponents, assessing board textures, and leveraging positional advantages all contribute to making informed decisions. By carefully weighing the risk-reward balance and avoiding over-reliance on weak pairs, you can effectively incorporate bluff catching into your overall poker strategy. Controlling the pot size with small pocket pairs like deuces through sixes is a fundamental aspect of poker strategy. These hands, while having the potential to become strong through flopping a set, often remain marginal and require careful handling. Keeping pots small when your hand does not improve is crucial to maintaining your stack and avoiding unnecessary losses. The first step in this process is recognizing when your small pair is unlikely to be the best hand and adjusting your play accordingly. By doing so, you preserve your chips for more favorable situations, allowing you to capitalize on opportunities when they arise. One effective way to control the pot size is by checking back flops with marginal holdings. When you are in position and the flop does not improve your small pair, opting to check rather than bet can prevent the pot from growing unnecessarily. This approach allows you to see additional cards without committing more chips, giving you the chance to improve your hand on the turn or river. Checking back also helps you gather information about your opponent's hands, as their actions on subsequent streets can provide insights into their strength. This information can guide your decisions later in the hand, helping you determine whether to continue with your small pair or to fold. Delayed continuation betting is another strategy that can be employed with small pairs. Instead of betting the flop, you may choose to check and then bet on the turn if the board remains favorable. This tactic can be particularly effective against opponents who are likely to fold to a single bet, but might call a flop bet. By delaying your aggression, you can take advantage of opponents who interpret your check as weakness and are more willing to fold to a turn bet. However, this strategy requires careful consideration of the board texture and your opponent's tendencies, as betting into a coordinated or draw-heavy board can lead to unfavorable outcomes. Managing stack-to-pot ratios is an essential component of pot control. This ratio, which compares the size of your stack to the size of the pot, influences your decision-making throughout the hand. With small pairs, you want to avoid situations where the stack-to-pot ratio becomes too low, as this can force you into committing more chips than desired. By keeping the pot size manageable, you retain flexibility in your play and can make more informed decisions about whether to continue with your hand or to fold when faced with aggression. Avoiding bloated pots when behind most ranges is crucial for preserving your stack. Small pairs are often outmatched by stronger hands, particularly when facing multiple opponents or aggressive betting. In these situations, it is important to recognize when your hand is likely beaten and to refrain from investing further chips. This discipline helps you avoid costly mistakes and allows you to conserve your stack for more advantageous scenarios. By focusing on pot control and making calculated decisions, you can minimize losses when your small pairs do not improve and maximize your potential for occasional wins when they do. Facing aggressive players with small pocket pairs such as deuces through sixes presents a unique challenge in Texas Hold'em. These opponents often apply relentless pressure, making it difficult to play small pairs effectively. However, understanding how to navigate their aggression can turn these situations into opportunities. When out of position against an aggressive player, it is often wise to fold early rather than engage in costly confrontations. Small pairs do not fare well against the broad and often stronger ranges that aggressive players typically wield. By folding early, you preserve your stack for more favorable spots where you have a better chance of realizing equity. When you do decide to engage, small pairs can become powerful trapping tools when you manage to hit a set. Aggressive players tend to continue betting post-flop, even when they may not have a strong hand. By disguising the strength of your set, you can allow them to build the pot for you. The key is to remain patient and let the aggression work in your favor. When the board texture is dry and unlikely to connect with your opponent's range, slow playing your set can lead to significant payoff as they continue to bet into you. Reshoving pre-flop against over-aggressive opponents is another strategy to consider. These players often open with wide ranges and may not have the hand strength to call an all-in bet. When your stack size allows, reshoving can exploit their tendency to overextend, forcing them to fold and allowing you to pick up valuable chips without seeing a flop. This tactic requires careful consideration of stack sizes and your opponent's tendencies, as you must ensure that the risk is justified by the potential reward. Inducing bluffs by checking strong holdings is a subtle yet effective way to counter aggression. When you have a small pair that has improved to a set, checking instead of betting can encourage an aggressive opponent to bluff. They may interpret your check as a sign of weakness and attempt to push you off the hand with a large bet. By allowing them to bluff, you can extract additional value from your strong hand. This approach requires a solid understanding of your opponent's betting patterns and a willingness to take calculated risks. Maintaining discipline against constant 3-bets is crucial when facing aggressive players. It is easy to become frustrated and make impulsive decisions when repeatedly 3-bet off hands. However, sticking to a disciplined approach will prevent unnecessary losses. Recognize when your small pair is unlikely to hold up against the aggressive player's range and be willing to fold when appropriate. Patience is key, as waiting for the right moment to strike back will often yield better results than engaging in a battle of egos. In summary, playing small pairs against aggressive opponents requires a blend of caution and opportunism. By folding early when out of position, using sets to trap, reshoving strategically, inducing bluffs, and maintaining discipline, you can effectively counteract aggression and turn these encounters into profitable situations. Each decision should be made with consideration of the specific dynamics at play, ensuring that your strategy is both adaptable and well-informed. Small pocket pairs, such as deuces through sixes, can be played more freely against passive opponents. These players tend to call rather than raise, allowing you to dictate the pace of the hand. When you hold a small pair, raising confidently pre-flop can help isolate these passive callers. By doing so, you create a scenario where you can control the pot size and set the terms of engagement. The goal is to narrow the field, increasing the chances of your pair holding up or hitting a set on the flop. Once the flop is revealed, extracting value becomes the primary focus. If you manage to hit a top set against a calling station, the opportunity to build a substantial pot presents itself. Passive players are often willing to call multiple streets with marginal holdings, giving you the chance to maximize your winnings. By betting consistently, you can capitalize on their tendency to chase draws or overvalue weak pairs. The key is to maintain pressure without overcommitting, ensuring that you extract the maximum value without risking unnecessary losses. Bluffing against passive opponents is generally unwise, as their willingness to call can lead to costly mistakes. These players are less likely to fold even when the board texture is unfavorable for their hand. Instead of bluffing, focus on playing straightforwardly with your small pairs. When you have a strong hand, bet for value. When you miss the flop, consider checking or folding, depending on the situation. This approach minimizes risk and leverages the passive nature of your opponents to your advantage. Thin value betting on the river can be a profitable strategy when you suspect your opponent has a weaker hand. With small pairs that have improved to a set or even an overpair, betting for thin value can extract additional chips from passive players. They are often willing to call with second-best hands, making this tactic effective when executed with precision. It requires a keen sense of your opponent's tendencies and the ability to gauge the strength of their range accurately. Set mining becomes more profitable against passive opponents due to their inclination to call pre-flop raises. This behavior increases the implied odds of hitting a set, as you are more likely to get paid off when you do. The passive nature of these players means they are less likely to apply pressure post-flop, allowing you to realize your equity more comfortably. When you hit a set, the potential for extracting value is significant, as passive opponents will often call down with weaker hands. In summary, playing small pairs against passive opponents involves a strategic blend of aggression and caution. By raising confidently to isolate callers, extracting value with strong hands, avoiding unnecessary bluffs, and employing thin value bets, you can effectively exploit the tendencies of passive players. The increased profitability of set mining in these situations further enhances the value of small pairs, providing opportunities for substantial gains when conditions align favorably. Short-stacked players frequently resort to shoving with a wide range of hands, especially in tournament settings where the pressure to accumulate chips is high. Small pocket pairs like deuces through sixes often find themselves in the middle of these all-in situations. Evaluating the equity of small pairs against such shove ranges is crucial for making informed decisions. Typically, small pairs hold up reasonably well against broad shoving ranges, often finding themselves in coin flip scenarios against two overcards. However, the presence of dominating overpairs in an opponent's range can significantly reduce the equity of small pairs, making it essential to weigh this risk carefully. To decide whether to call a shove profitably with a small pair, one must consider the pot odds being offered. Pot odds compare the size of the call to the total pot size, helping determine if a call is mathematically justified. For instance, if the pot odds dictate that you need to win the hand more than 1 out of 3 times to break even, small pairs can often meet this requirement against wide shoving ranges. However, the presence of larger pocket pairs in the opponent's range can skew these odds unfavorably, necessitating a more cautious approach. The risk of running into dominating overpairs is a significant consideration when facing short-stacked shoves. While small pairs fare well against random overcards, they are heavily disadvantaged against higher pairs. This risk is particularly pronounced in situations where the shoving player is tight or has shown a tendency to wait for premium hands. Understanding the tendencies of opponents and their likely shoving ranges can aid in making more accurate equity assessments and avoiding situations where small pairs are dominated. There are instances where folding small pairs is the correct decision, even when pot odds appear favorable. This is especially true in tournament play, where survival and chip preservation are paramount. The independent chip model, ICM, often dictates that maintaining a stack for future opportunities outweighs the immediate pot odds offered by a marginal call. Folding in these scenarios helps avoid unnecessary variance and preserves the ability to exploit more favorable situations later in the tournament. Adjustments to calling ranges with small pairs are necessary as the tournament progresses through different stages. Early in a tournament, when stacks are deeper and the blinds are lower, calling shoves with small pairs may be more justifiable due to the potential for significant chip accumulation. However, as the tournament advances and stack sizes shrink relative to the blinds, the risk-reward balance shifts. The increasing importance of survival and the looming threat of elimination make it crucial to tighten calling ranges with small pairs, focusing on spots where the equity is clearly favorable. In conclusion, small pairs in the face of short-stacked shoves require a nuanced approach that balances mathematical considerations with strategic foresight. Evaluating equity against wide shoving ranges, understanding pot odds, and recognizing the risk of running into dominating hands are key components of this decision-making process. Furthermore, tournament dynamics and the stage of play heavily influence the profitability of calling shoves with small pairs. By carefully weighing these factors, players can make informed decisions that maximize their chances of success in high-pressure situations. When multiple players see the flop, the dynamics of poker change significantly. Small pocket pairs like deuces through sixes face unique challenges in these multi-way pots. The presence of additional players dilutes the equity of small pairs, as more hands are in play that can potentially beat them. In a heads-up scenario, small pairs might hold reasonable equity against a single opponent's range. However, when facing two or more opponents, the likelihood that someone has a stronger hand increases. This means that small pairs, which are already speculative, become even more vulnerable in multi-way situations. The first adjustment to make with small pairs in multi-way pots is to be cautious with continuation bets. A continuation bet is a bet made by the pre-flop aggressor after the flop, regardless of whether it improved their hand. In heads-up situations, continuation betting can be effective, as the opponent often misses the flop. However, in multi-way pots, the probability that at least one opponent has connected with the board is higher. Therefore, with small pairs, it is crucial to evaluate the board texture carefully before deciding to continuation bet. Boards that are highly coordinated or contain high cards are more likely to have hit one of the opponents, making a continuation bet risky. Despite the challenges, small pairs can gain significant value when they flop a set in multi-way pots. The more opponents there are, the more potential there is to extract value. Sets are well disguised and can often lead to winning large pots, especially if opponents have hit top pair or two pair. In these situations, it is important to consider whether to fast play or slow play the set. Fast playing involves betting or raising to build the pot quickly, while slow playing involves checking or calling to induce bets from opponents. The choice between these strategies depends on the board texture and the tendencies of the opponents. Unimproved small pairs, on the other hand, often lose their showdown value in multi-way pots. With more players in the hand, the chances that someone has a better pair or a made hand increase. Therefore, it is essential to manage expectations and avoid overcommitting with unimproved small pairs. Folding is often the best course of action if the board is unfavorable and there is significant betting action from opponents. Staying disciplined and recognizing when small pairs are unlikely to win at showdown can prevent unnecessary losses. Controlling the pot size is another critical aspect of playing small pairs in multi-way pots. When action grows quickly, it can be tempting to call down with small pairs, hoping for a miracle turn or river card. However, this approach can lead to bloated pots, where the chances of winning are slim. Instead, focus on keeping the pot small, unless a set is hit. This means being willing to check and fold if opponents show strength. By controlling the pot size, players can minimize losses when small pairs do not improve and maximize gains when they do. In summary, multi-way pots present specific challenges and opportunities for small pocket pairs. The key is to adjust strategy by being cautious with continuation bets, recognizing the increased value of sets, and managing the pot size effectively. Understanding these dynamics allows players to navigate multi-way pots with greater precision and confidence, ultimately leading to more successful outcomes in these complex scenarios. Small pocket pairs, such as deuces through sixes, are frequently overvalued by players who misunderstand their true strength. These hands, while pairs, are not as robust as medium or large pocket pairs and require careful handling. One common mistake is treating small pairs like medium pairs. Players often overplay them, assuming that any pair is inherently strong. However, the reality is that small pairs lack the inherent strength of larger pairs, particularly when they do not improve on the flop. Unlike medium pairs, which can often withstand some post-flop pressure, small pairs are more vulnerable and should be played with a set mining mindset. Another frequent error involves calling too many raises without the proper odds. Set mining, the practice of calling pre-flop with the intention of hitting a set on the flop, requires favorable implied odds. Implied odds refer to the potential winnings from future bets if a set is hit. Small pairs need significant implied odds because they rarely win unimproved. Players often call raises with small pairs without considering whether the stacks are deep enough to justify the call. Without sufficient implied odds, these calls become unprofitable, as the cost of missing the flop outweighs the potential gains from hitting a set. Overcommitting on dangerous boards is another pitfall. When the flop comes with high cards or is highly coordinated, small pairs are at risk. These boards often connect with opponents' ranges, making it difficult for small pairs to hold up. Players sometimes continue betting or calling in these situations, hoping that their pair is still good. However, this approach can lead to significant losses. Recognizing when the board is unfavorable and being willing to fold is crucial in avoiding overcommitment with small pairs. Failing to fold when dominated by stronger ranges is a common issue. Small pairs, especially when unimproved, can easily be dominated by higher pairs or strong drawing hands. Players often hold on to small pairs too long, hoping for a favorable turn or river. This reluctance to fold can be costly, particularly when facing aggression from opponents who likely have stronger holdings. Understanding when small pairs are likely dominated and folding early can save chips and prevent further losses. Correcting these misconceptions requires diligent review and analysis. After sessions, reviewing hands where small pairs were involved can provide valuable insights. Analyzing situations where calls were made without proper odds, or where overcommitment occurred on dangerous boards, helps identify patterns and leaks. By recognizing these mistakes, players can adjust their strategy and improve their decision-making with small pairs. In summary, overvaluing small pocket pairs stems from misconceptions about their strength and mismanagement in various situations. Treating them like medium pairs, calling raises without the right odds, overcommitting on risky boards, and failing to fold when dominated are common pitfalls. Through careful review and analysis, players can correct these errors and develop a more disciplined approach to playing small pocket pairs, ultimately leading to better outcomes at the table. Small pocket pairs, such as deuces through sixes, can often become trap hands, luring players into situations where they risk losing significant portions of their stack. This occurs when players overcommit to these seemingly promising hands, especially when they fail to improve on coordinated boards. A coordinated board typically features cards that connect well with each other, such as a sequence or a flush draw, making it more likely that an opponent has hit a strong hand. Small pairs, when unimproved, hold little value against such boards, yet players sometimes continue investing chips, hoping their pair will hold up. This hope is often misplaced, leading to unnecessary losses. Another common trap arises when players call down bets, even when opponents clearly represent stronger ranges. In poker, an opponent's betting pattern often provides clues about the strength of their hand. When facing aggression, especially from a player who has shown strength throughout the hand, small pairs are usually at a disadvantage. Despite this, players sometimes convince themselves that their pair might still be the best hand, leading them to call bets they should fold to. This misjudgment can be costly, as the small pair might be up against top pairs or even sets, which dominate them. Reverse implied odds present another danger. This concept refers to the potential for a player to lose more money in future betting rounds, when their hand is likely to be second best. For small pairs, this situation arises when they hit a set, only to find that the board allows for higher sets. For instance, holding a set of deuces on a board with higher cards can lead to significant losses if an opponent has a set of threes or higher. The initial excitement of hitting a set can quickly turn into a costly mistake if players do not recognize the danger of being outdrawn. In 3-bet pots, small pairs can lose value if not played carefully. A 3-bet is a re-raise of the original raise, indicating that the opponent has a strong hand. Entering a pot with a small pair in this context requires careful consideration of the opponent's range and the likelihood of hitting a set. Without improvement, small pairs often struggle in 3-bet pots, as the aggressive action pre-flop suggests that opponents hold stronger hands. Players who overvalue their small pairs in these situations can find themselves trapped, unable to fold but unlikely to win. Disciplined folds are crucial in preventing small pairs from becoming traps. Recognizing when a small pair is unlikely to improve or when the board and opponent's actions suggest a stronger hand is essential. Folding in these scenarios, despite the initial investment, can save chips and prevent further losses. This discipline requires an understanding of the potential pitfalls and a willingness to let go of hands that are not likely to win. By making disciplined folds, players can avoid the traps that small pairs often set, preserving their stack for more favorable situations. Understanding these dangers and adjusting play accordingly can help mitigate the risks associated with small pocket pairs. Overcommitting on coordinated boards, calling down strong ranges, falling victim to reverse implied odds, and misplaying in 3-bet pots are all traps that can be avoided with careful consideration and disciplined decision-making. By recognizing these potential pitfalls, players can transform small pairs from trap hands into strategic assets, used wisely to their advantage. In all-in situations, small pocket pairs, such as deuces through sixes, frequently find themselves up against 2 overcards, creating the classic coin flip scenario. This is a common occurrence in poker, especially in tournaments, where players often shove with hands like ace-king, ace-queen or king-queen, hoping to either force folds or win a showdown. The mathematics behind these matchups is straightforward, yet crucial for players to understand. Small pairs like 22-66 generally have an equity of around 50% against 2 overcards, assuming no suits are involved. This means that in the long run, these hands will win about half the time, making them viable but risky options in all-in scenarios. Suited connectors, such as 9-8 suited or 10-9 suited, sometimes perform better than small pairs in these situations. This is because suited connectors have the potential to hit straights and flushes, giving them more ways to win the hand beyond simply pairing one of their cards. While they might start with slightly less equity pre-flop compared to small pairs, the additional outs they provide can make them more versatile, especially when they connect well with the board. This versatility can be particularly valuable in tournaments, where survival and chip accumulation are key. The decision to engage in an all-in with small pairs involves weighing the tournament risk-reward dynamic. In tournaments, players must consider not only their immediate odds but also the broader implications for their tournament life. A successful all-in can significantly boost a player's stack, increasing their chances of progressing further and potentially reaching the money. Conversely, losing an all-in with small pairs can mean elimination. Therefore, players must assess whether the risk of busting out is worth the potential reward of doubling up or accumulating chips. This risk-reward balance often depends on the stage of the tournament and the player's current stack size relative to the blinds. When playing with a short stack, small pairs can become part of a shove range. In such situations, the goal is to maximize fold equity while still having a reasonable chance of winning if called. Small pairs are often included in short stack shove ranges because they hold their equity well against a wide variety of hands. The presence of 2 overcards is almost inevitable, but the 50-50 nature of the coin flip means there is always a chance to win. The key is to shove from positions where opponents are more likely to fold, thus increasing the likelihood of winning the pot uncontested. Mental preparation is essential for handling the variance that comes with these flip situations. Poker is a game of skill, but it is also subject to the whims of luck, especially in all-in confrontations. Players must accept that variance is an inherent part of the game and that losing with small pairs in a coin flip is not a reflection of poor play. Instead, it is a natural outcome that occurs over time. Developing a mindset that embraces variance helps players maintain composure and focus, preventing tilt and emotional decision-making. This mental resilience is crucial for long-term success in poker, enabling players to continue making sound strategic choices, despite the inevitable swings. Understanding the dynamics of small pairs versus overcards in all-in situations equips players with the knowledge to navigate these common scenarios effectively. By appreciating the equity involved, recognizing the potential of suited connectors, and balancing risk and reward, players can make informed decisions that enhance their chances of success. Embracing the variance and preparing mentally for the outcomes helps maintain a positive and strategic approach to the game, ultimately contributing to a more resilient and adaptable poker mindset. When small pocket pairs like deuces through sixes face off against larger pairs, the pre-flop equity is significantly disadvantaged. Against each higher pair, such as sevens through aces, the small pairs are typically left with only about 20% equity. This stark contrast in winning chances highlights the inherent risk in entering all-in situations against stronger pocket pairs. The mathematics underpinning these confrontations is straightforward yet crucial for players to grasp. Understanding that a small pair is a substantial underdog against any higher pair is the first step in making informed decisions at the table. There are rare scenarios where calling an all-in with small pairs might be justified. These situations usually arise in tournaments, when a player's stack is critically low, and the blinds and antes are set to consume their remaining chips imminently. In such cases, the urgency to act can justify taking a calculated risk with a small pair, even against a likely stronger hand. The hope is to either win the hand outright, or at least survive by doubling up, thus gaining a fighting chance to continue in the tournament. Suitedness, which can offer additional outs in other hand types, provides little benefit in pair versus pair confrontations. The primary advantage of suited cards is the potential to form flushes, but when facing a higher pair, the likelihood of hitting a flush is minimal compared to the overwhelming odds against winning the hand. Therefore, players should not overvalue the suited aspect of small pairs in these matchups, as it does not significantly alter the hand's equity against bigger pairs. In tournament play, survival considerations take precedence when facing overpairs. The decision to call an all-in with a small pair should factor in the stage of the tournament, the player's position relative to the bubble, and the overall chip distribution among opponents. Often preserving chips by folding a small pair in the face of a likely overpair is the prudent choice, especially if the tournament has reached a critical juncture where losing the hand would mean elimination. The importance of chip preservation in tournaments cannot be overstated, as maintaining a healthy stack allows for more strategic flexibility and the opportunity to exploit future favorable situations. Discipline is paramount in preventing unnecessary all-in disasters with small pairs. It requires resisting the temptation to gamble in unfavorable spots, even when the allure of doubling up is strong. This discipline is cultivated through experience and a thorough understanding of the game's probabilities. By consistently making decisions grounded in sound strategy, rather than emotion or impatience, players can avoid the pitfalls that lead to premature exits from tournaments. Recognizing when to fold and live to fight another day is a valuable skill that separates successful players from those who frequently find themselves on the rail. In summary, the challenge of playing small pairs against higher pocket pairs lies in the significant equity disadvantage and the need for strategic discipline. By understanding the mathematics of these matchups, Recognizing the limited value of suitedness and prioritizing survival in tournaments, players can navigate these confrontations with a clear, informed mindset. This approach not only enhances decision-making at the table, but also contributes to a more resilient and adaptable poker strategy overall. In heads-up play, the dynamics of poker shift significantly, granting increased value to all pocket pairs, including the smallest ones, like deuces through sixes. This is due to the broader range of hands each player must consider. With only one opponent to contend with, the likelihood of your small pair being the best hand pre-flop rises. The reduced number of players means fewer chances for someone to hold a higher pair, and thus the relative strength of small pairs increases. This altered landscape allows players to approach 2266 with more confidence and strategic flexibility. Opening frequency is a crucial adjustment when playing heads-up with small pairs. In this format, aggressive play is often rewarded, and small pairs can be used effectively to assert pressure on your opponent. Given the wider range of hands in play, opening with small pairs becomes a strategic move to gain control of the pot early. The key is to balance aggression with caution, ensuring that you are not overly predictable. By raising with small pairs, you can force your opponent to make difficult decisions with marginal hands, potentially leading to folds or weaker calls. Balancing 3-bet ranges is another important aspect of heads-up play with small pairs. Including small pairs in your 3-bet range can serve as a deceptive tactic, allowing you to mask the true strength of your hand. When opponents are uncertain whether your 3-bet represents a strong hand or a bluff, it becomes harder for them to respond effectively. This uncertainty can lead to mistakes, such as overfolding or calling with dominated hands, thereby increasing your chances of winning the pot. The goal is to maintain a balanced range that keeps your opponent guessing and unable to easily exploit your strategy. Post-flop, the value of small pairs as bottom pairs in heads-up pots should not be underestimated. When the board develops, small pairs can still hold significant equity, especially on dry or uncoordinated flops. In these scenarios, the likelihood that your opponent has connected with the board is reduced, allowing your small pair to retain its strength. Additionally, small pairs can act as bluff catchers when your opponent attempts to represent a stronger hand. The ability to accurately assess board textures and opponent tendencies is crucial in determining when to continue with a small pair post-flop. There are times when small pairs are strong enough to play for stacks in heads-up situations. This typically occurs when you have identified your opponent as overly aggressive, or when their range is particularly wide. In these cases, your small pair may be ahead of their likely holdings, justifying an all-in move. The decision to commit your stack with a small pair should be based on a careful evaluation of the opponent's tendencies, the board texture, and the overall dynamics of the match. By recognizing when your small pair is likely to be the best hand, you can capitalize on opportunities to capture significant pots. In summary, heads-up play elevates the strategic possibilities for small pocket pairs, making them more versatile and potent than in full-ring games. By adjusting opening frequencies, balancing 3-bet ranges, and understanding the post-flop potential of small pairs, players can effectively leverage these hands to their advantage. The key to success lies in adapting to the heads-up environment, where quick thinking and strategic flexibility are paramount. Small pocket pairs, such as deuces to sixes, and medium pocket pairs, like sevens to tens, frequently find themselves in direct competition, especially in tournament play. Understanding the pre-flop equity differences between these two categories can provide a strategic edge. Small pairs, like 2266, generally have less equity against medium pairs, which tend to dominate them in head-to-head matchups. For instance, when facing a hand like 77 or 88, a small pair is often at a significant disadvantage pre-flop. This disparity is crucial when deciding whether to call a shove, especially when the likelihood of being dominated is high. When considering whether to call an all-in with a small pair, the key factors include stack sizes, opponent tendencies, and the overall tournament situation. Small pairs are often crushed by medium pairs, which means that calling a shove without a clear understanding of these dynamics can lead to unfavorable outcomes. It's essential to weigh the potential for fold equity against the risk of being dominated. In many cases, folding a small pair pre-flop is the more prudent decision, particularly when the opponent's range is likely to include higher pairs. Fold equity plays a pivotal role in avoiding domination spots with small pairs. By leveraging fold equity, players can sometimes push opponents off hands that might otherwise dominate them. This approach is particularly effective in situations where opponents are likely to fold hands like 77 or 88 to a well-timed shove, especially if they perceive the shover as having a stronger range. Understanding when to apply pressure with small pairs is crucial in navigating these tricky pre-flop scenarios. Post-flop, the dangers of overpairs dominating bottom sets are evident. When a small pair manages to flop a set, the potential for a medium pair to have also hit a set is a looming threat. This scenario can lead to significant losses if not handled carefully. Players must be cautious when betting into boards that might have connected with their opponent's ranges. Recognizing board textures that are more favorable to medium pairs can help in making more informed decisions, reducing the risk of overcommitting with a bottom set. Tournament examples abound, where small pairs have lost to medium ones, highlighting the need for careful play. In many cases, players holding small pairs have pushed aggressively, only to run into medium pairs that held stronger equity. These situations underscore the importance of strategic restraint and the value of fold equity. By understanding the dynamics at play, players can avoid costly mistakes and preserve their tournament life. In conclusion, the clashes between small and medium pairs require careful consideration of pre-flop equity, fold equity, and post-flop play. By recognizing the inherent disadvantages of small pairs in these matchups and leveraging strategic aggression, players can navigate these challenges more effectively. The key lies in understanding the nuances of each situation and making informed decisions that maximize potential gains while minimizing risks. When playing against seasoned opponents, the perception of small pocket pairs as potential set-mining threats can be a powerful tool. These players often respect the possibility of a set, particularly on dry boards where the likelihood of a set is considered higher. This respect can be leveraged to increase bluffing frequency, taking advantage of opponents' tendencies to fold to perceived strength. On dry boards where few draws are possible, opponents may be more inclined to believe a strong hand narrative when you represent a set. This makes it an ideal situation to execute well-timed bluffs, knowing that the fear of sets can lead to folds from hands that might otherwise continue. Cautious players, those who overfold due to the fear of running into a set, present another opportunity. These players tend to give up on hands too easily when they suspect they are up against a set. By recognizing these tendencies, you can exploit them by applying pressure with continuation bets, or even check raises, depending on the situation. The key is to identify when an opponent is overly concerned about the possibility of a set, allowing you to capitalize on their caution. This approach requires a keen sense of observation and the ability to adjust your strategy based on the opponent's reactions. Balancing your continuation bet ranges is crucial when dealing with opponents who fear sets. While it is tempting to bluff more frequently, maintaining a balanced range of value bets and bluffs is essential. By doing so, you prevent opponents from easily reading your hand strength. Including speculative holdings like small pairs in your continuation bet range can add depth to your play. This balance ensures that your opponents cannot simply fold whenever you bet, as they must consider the possibility of you holding a strong hand or a bluff. In multi-way pots, the dynamics change significantly. Opponents may tighten up, fearing the increased likelihood of someone holding a set. This is especially true when multiple players see the flop, and the board texture suggests the potential for sets. In these scenarios, applying pressure through aggressive betting can force opponents to fold hands they might otherwise play. The presence of multiple players increases the perceived strength of any aggressive action, as each player must consider the possibility that one of their opponents has connected strongly with the board. Adjusting aggression levels is also vital when opponents give undue credit to all pocket pairs. Some players automatically assume any pocket pair could lead to a set, even when the board does not support this narrative. By recognizing when opponents overestimate the strength of pocket pairs, you can adjust your aggression accordingly. This might involve increasing your bluffing frequency or making larger bets to capitalize on their fear. The goal is to exploit their misconceptions and extract maximum value from their caution. Understanding how to adjust your ranges when opponents fear sets is a strategic advantage. By exploiting their fears, you can turn small pocket pairs into a formidable weapon. The key lies in observing opponent tendencies, balancing your betting ranges, and applying pressure in the right situations. This approach not only maximizes the potential of small pairs, but also enhances your overall strategic depth. Tilt is a state of mental or emotional confusion that can occur after a player experiences a bad beat, particularly with small pocket pairs, like deuces through sixes. Recognizing signs of tilt in opponents can offer strategic opportunities to exploit their weakened decision-making. When a player loses a coin flip with a small pair, such as twos against overcards, frustration often sets in. This frustration can manifest through visible cues, like a change in posture, increased betting speed, or verbal expressions of displeasure. These signs indicate that an opponent may be playing emotionally rather than strategically. One common reaction to losing with small pairs is overaggression. Players on tilt might start raising and betting more frequently, trying to recoup their losses quickly. This behavior is often characterized by larger than normal bet sizes and a willingness to engage in pots with marginal hands. Recognizing this shift allows you to adjust your strategy, capitalizing on their aggressive tendencies. By tightening your range and waiting for stronger hands, you can trap these players, letting them bet into you when you hold a superior hand. Protecting your own mindset after experiencing losses with small pairs is equally important. When you find yourself on the losing end of a set mining attempt or a pre-flop all-in with a small pair, it is crucial to maintain composure. Deep breathing, taking a moment to refocus, and reminding yourself of the long-term nature of poker can help prevent tilt. Recognize that variance is an inherent part of the game, and even the best players face similar situations. By maintaining a calm demeanor, you can continue to make rational decisions, avoiding the pitfalls of emotional play. Turning tilt recognition into profitable opportunities involves keen observation and strategic adjustments. When you notice an opponent tilting, consider employing strategies that exploit their current state. For instance, you might use smaller bet sizes to induce bluffs from an opponent eager to regain chips. Alternatively, you might increase your aggression with strong hands, knowing that a tilting player is more likely to call down with weaker holdings. The key is to stay adaptable, tailoring your approach to the specific tendencies of the tilting opponent. In multi-way pots, tilt can lead to reckless play, with tilting players often committing chips without considering the full implications. In these scenarios, patience and position become your allies. Allow the tilting player to make mistakes, and use your position to control the pot size. When a tilting opponent is involved, the likelihood of them making suboptimal decisions increases, providing you with opportunities to extract value or bluff effectively. Ultimately, recognizing and exploiting tilt is a skill that can significantly enhance your poker strategy. By staying observant and maintaining your own emotional stability, you can turn the emotional struggles of others into your advantage. This approach not only helps in maximizing profits, but also reinforces the importance of discipline and patience in poker. As you hone your ability to spot tilt and adjust accordingly, you will find yourself better equipped to navigate the ups and downs of poker with small pocket pairs. When playing poker, small pocket pairs like deuces through sixes often present a unique challenge. They are speculative hands that rely heavily on flopping a set to gain significant value. However, the nature of variance means that these opportunities are rare, and more often than not, small pairs will not improve post-flop. This reality can lead to frequent disappointments, but maintaining composure is key to long-term success. After a failed set mining attempt, it is crucial to reset emotionally. Acknowledge the loss as part of the game, and remind yourself that poker is a marathon, not a sprint. Each hand is an independent event, and the outcome of one should not dictate your emotional state for the next. Avoiding revenge plays is another critical aspect of maintaining composure. It can be tempting to chase losses by playing aggressively with marginal hands, hoping to quickly recover chips. However, this approach often leads to further losses, as emotional decision-making clouds judgment. Instead, focus on playing each hand optimally, based on the information available at the time. Revenge plays are a common pitfall, and recognizing the urge to engage in them is the first step towards avoiding them. This frustration can manifest through visible cues like a change in posture, increased betting speed, or verbal expressions of displeasure. Reviewing your decisions rather than the outcomes is a powerful tool for improvement. One common reaction to losing with small pairs is overaggression. Players on tilt might start raising and betting more frequently, trying to recoup their losses quickly. By focusing on the quality of your decisions, you can identify areas for improvement and reinforce positive habits. This practice helps build confidence in your strategic approach, reducing the emotional impact of unfavorable outcomes. In live play, maintaining focus can be challenging, especially after a disappointing hand. Mental exercises such as deep breathing or visualization techniques can help center your thoughts and keep your mind sharp. Taking a moment to mentally step back from the game can provide clarity and prevent tilt. Visualization involves imagining a calm and focused version of yourself, making rational decisions based on logic and strategy. This mental preparation can enhance your ability to stay composed, even in the face of adversity. By maintaining a calm demeanor, you can continue to make rational decisions, avoiding the pitfalls of emotional play. Turning tilt recognition into profitable opportunities involves keen observation and strategic adjustments. When you notice an opponent tilting, consider employing strategies that exploit their current state. For instance, you might use smaller bet sizes to induce bluffs from an opponent, eager to regain chips. Alternatively, you might increase your aggression with strong hands, knowing that a tilting player is more likely to call down with weaker holdings. The key is to stay adaptable, tailoring your approach to the specific tendencies of the tilting opponent. In multi-way pots, tilt can lead to reckless play, with tilting players often committing chips without considering the full implications. By resetting emotionally, avoiding revenge plays, reviewing decisions, and practicing mental focus, you can navigate the ups and downs of poker with greater ease. This approach not only improves your game, but also enhances your enjoyment of poker as a challenging and rewarding pursuit. When a tilting opponent is involved, the likelihood of them making suboptimal decisions increases, providing you with opportunities to extract value or bluff effectively. Reviewing hands where small pocket pairs like deuces through sixes were involved is essential for honing your strategy. By staying observant and maintaining your own emotional stability, you can turn the emotional struggles of others into your advantage. This approach not only helps in maximizing profits, but also reinforces the importance of discipline and patience in poker. As you hone your ability to spot tilt and adjust accordingly, you will find yourself better equipped to navigate the ups and downs of poker with small pocket pairs. By examining these factors, you can pinpoint areas where your play may deviate from optimal strategy. They are speculative hands that rely heavily on flopping a set to gain significant value. However, the nature of variance means that these opportunities are rare, and more often than not, small pairs will not improve post-flop. Implied odds refer to the potential to win a large pot relative to the size of the call you need to make. When reviewing your session, identify instances where you called a raise without the necessary stack depths or favorable conditions. Acknowledge the loss as part of the game, and remind yourself that poker is a marathon, not a sprint. Each hand is an independent event, and the outcome of one should not dictate your emotional state for the next. Avoiding revenge plays is another critical aspect of maintaining composure. Use equity calculators to determine the win probability of your small pairs against typical calling ranges. This analysis helps you understand whether your shoves were justified based on the expected value. If you find that your small pairs were consistently at a disadvantage, it may indicate a need to tighten your shove ranges or select better spots for aggression. Consistent review of these situations will refine your judgment in future games. Sorting hands by stack depth during your review provides deeper insights. Reviewing your decisions rather than the outcomes is a powerful tool for improvement. After losing with a small pair, analyze the hand to understand whether your actions were sound given the circumstances. Consider factors such as position, opponent tendencies, and stack sizes. By focusing on the quality of your decisions, you can identify areas for improvement and reinforce positive habits. This practice helps build confidence in your strategic approach, reducing the emotional impact of unfavorable outcomes. In live play, maintaining focus can be challenging, especially after a disappointing hand. Mental exercises such as deep breathing or visualization techniques can help center your thoughts and keep your mind sharp. Taking a moment to mentally step back from the game can provide clarity and prevent tilt. Visualization involves imagining a calm and focused version of yourself, making rational decisions based on logic and strategy. This process not only enhances your understanding of small pair strategy, but also builds a disciplined approach to poker. Over time, the insights gained from these reviews contribute to a more refined and effective game, allowing you to capitalize on the strengths of small pocket pairs while minimizing their inherent risks. In the world of professional poker, small pocket pairs have played pivotal roles in some of the most memorable tournament hands. Resilience allows you to approach each hand with a clear mind, making decisions that maximize expected value over time. At the World Series of Poker, there have been numerous instances where small pairs have either propelled players to victory or led to their downfall. By cultivating resilience, you position yourself to capitalize on opportunities when they arise, while minimizing the impact of inevitable setbacks. Ultimately, maintaining composure after small pair losses is about embracing the nature of poker. With careful betting, they manage to extract maximum value from an opponent holding an overpair, showcasing the power of patience and strategic aggression. By resetting emotionally, avoiding revenge plays, reviewing decisions, and practicing mental focus, you can navigate the ups and downs of poker with greater ease. This approach not only improves your game, but also enhances your enjoyment of poker as a challenging and rewarding pursuit. When the poker session concludes, the real work begins. Reviewing hands where small pocket pairs like deuces through sixes were involved is essential for honing your strategy. The player with the fives cleverly checked, allowing the opponent to bet aggressively. By the river, the pot had grown substantially, and a well-timed raise secured a massive win. This example underscores the importance of strategic deception and the ability to read opponents accurately. By examining these factors, you can pinpoint areas where your play may deviate from optimal strategy. One common area to scrutinize is your decision to call raises with small pairs. These hands often require specific conditions to be profitable, primarily the right implied odds. Implied odds refer to the potential to win a large pot relative to the size of the call you need to make. This misstep serves as a cautionary tale about the risks of overcommitting with small pairs, especially when the board texture and opponent behavior do not support such a play. Tournament swings often hinge on the outcomes of coin flips, involving small pairs. By recognizing these patterns, you can adjust your strategy to fold more frequently in these spots, preserving your chips for more advantageous situations. Another critical aspect of post-session review is examining your shove ranges and the equity of small pairs in all-in scenarios. Use equity calculators to determine the win probability of your small pairs against typical calling ranges. This analysis helps you understand whether your shoves were justified based on the expected value. Learning from these professional examples can greatly enhance everyday play. Consistent review of these situations will refine your judgment in future games. Sorting hands by stack depth during your review provides deeper insights. By studying how professionals navigate these decisions, players can refine their strategies and improve their overall game. Emulating the patience and discipline demonstrated by top players can lead to more consistent results, even when dealing with the unpredictable nature of small pocket pairs. Small pocket pairs, ranging from deuces to sixes, have quietly etched their mark in the annals of poker history, delivering moments of triumph and surprise. This practice helps you adapt your play to varying conditions, maximizing your edge in different scenarios. Their potential to transform into powerful sets on the flop can shift the dynamics of a game, turning the tide in favor of those who wield them with precision and patience. In the high-stakes realm of poker tournaments, there have been numerous instances where small pocket pairs have clinched memorable final hands. Documenting these mistakes allows you to track your progress over time and focus on specific areas for improvement. This knowledge base serves as a personalized guide, reminding you of past lessons and helping you avoid repeating the same errors. By dedicating time to post-session analysis, you transform each poker session into a learning opportunity. This decisive hand not only secured a coveted bracelet, but also underscored the latent power of small pairs when they connect with the board. Over time, the insights gained from these reviews contribute to a more refined and effective game, allowing you to capitalize on the strengths of small pocket pairs, while minimizing their inherent risks. In the world of professional poker, small pocket pairs have played pivotal roles in some of the most memorable tournament hands. These seemingly modest hands, like deuces through sixes, have the potential to transform the dynamics of a game when wielded by skilled players. At the World Series of Poker, there have been numerous instances where small pairs have either propelled players to victory or led to their downfall. One such moment occurred when a player, holding pocket threes, found themselves up against a field of aggressive opponents. This strategic play not only secured the win, but also highlighted the importance of patience and timing when playing small pairs. With careful betting, they managed to extract maximum value from an opponent holding an overpair, showcasing the power of patience and strategic aggression. In a notable televised event, a player with pocket deuces found themselves on the brink of elimination, facing an opponent with a significantly larger stack. With little to lose, the player decided to push all in, hoping for a favorable outcome. By disguising the strength of their holdings, these players can lure opponents into committing significant portions of their stacks. This tactic was evident in a well-documented hand, where a player with pocket fives flopped a set against an opponent with pocket aces. Broadcast hands have frequently showcased the power of patience when holding small pairs. During a high-profile poker tour, a player with pocket fours faced off against aggressive opponents. Choosing to call rather than raise pre-flop, the player exercised restraint, waiting for the right moment to strike. However, the allure of small pairs can sometimes lead to overplaying, a mistake even seasoned professionals can make. In another notable tournament, a player holding pocket fours decided to call a large pre-flop raise, hoping to hit a set. This televised hand served as a masterclass in the art of patience, demonstrating how small pairs can be leveraged to great effect. Small pocket pairs maintain a revered place in poker history, not only for their ability to surprise, but also for their role in teaching valuable lessons about strategy and discipline. This misstep serves as a cautionary tale about the risks of overcommitting with small pairs, especially when the board texture and opponent behavior do not support such a play. Their successes in pivotal moments underscore the importance of understanding board dynamics, opponent tendencies, and the value of strategic aggression. Through patience and calculated risk-taking, small pairs have repeatedly proven their worth, leaving an indelible mark on the game of poker. Small pocket pairs, such as deuces through sixes, are often surrounded by misconceptions that can lead to strategic errors at the poker table. One common myth is that all pocket pairs hold equal strength pre-flop. However, the reality is that small pairs, while technically a pair, lack the immediate strength and dominance that larger pairs possess. Their value lies primarily in their potential to develop into a set on the flop, a transformation that can shift the balance of a hand significantly. This potential, however, does not equate to inherent pre-flop power. Small pairs require careful navigation and should not be overvalued simply because they are pairs. By studying how professionals navigate these decisions, players can refine their strategies and improve their overall game. Set mining involves calling a pre-flop raise with the hope of hitting a set on the flop, allowing you to win a large pot. Small pocket pairs, ranging from deuces to sixes, have quietly etched their mark in the annals of poker history, delivering moments of triumph and surprise. These hands, often underestimated due to their modest pre-flop strength, have been the architects of some of the most iconic victories in poker tournaments. If the stacks are too shallow, the potential reward may not justify the risk of calling pre-flop. In the high-stakes realm of poker tournaments, there have been numerous instances where small pocket pairs have clinched memorable final hands. One such moment unfolded at the World Series of Poker, where a player holding pocket sixes found themselves heads up against a formidable opponent. This belief can lead to unnecessary losses, especially when facing aggressive opponents or in situations where post-flop playability is limited. Small pairs do not have the same post-flop flexibility as other speculative hands, like suited connectors, which can draw to multiple outs. This decisive hand not only secured a coveted bracelet, but also underscored the latent power of small pairs when they connect with the board. Instead, players should evaluate the context, including their position, the tendencies of their opponents, and the size of the raise before deciding to call. In another celebrated example, a player entered the final table of a major tournament with a modest stack and pocket threes. While suitedness can add marginal value by offering backdoor flush possibilities, the impact on overall hand strength is minimal. The primary value of small pairs remains in their potential to hit a set. Suitedness does not dramatically alter this dynamic, and players should avoid overvaluing small pairs simply because they are suited. This strategic play not only secured the win, but also highlighted the importance of patience and timing when playing small pairs. Ultimately, the profitability of playing small pocket pairs depends heavily on context and conditions. Players must consider a variety of factors, such as table dynamics, opponent tendencies, and the specific stage of a tournament or cash game. With little to lose, the player decided to push all in, hoping for a favorable outcome. The board ran out without improving their opponent's hand, allowing the player with the deuces to double up and stage a remarkable comeback. By dispelling these myths and focusing on strategic fundamentals, players can better harness the potential of small pocket pairs, turning them into valuable assets rather than liabilities at the poker table. Small pocket pairs, ranging from deuces to sixes, present unique challenges for beginners in Texas Hold'em. During a high-profile poker tour, a player with pocket fours faced off against aggressive opponents. The key to playing small pairs effectively lies in understanding their true potential and limitations. One fundamental concept to grasp is set mining. Set mining involves calling a pre-flop raise, with the hope of hitting a set on the flop. This means that your pair will become three of a kind, significantly increasing its strength. Small pocket pairs maintain a revered place in poker history, not only for their ability to surprise, but also for their role in teaching valuable lessons about strategy and discipline. Implied odds refer to the potential winnings you can extract from your opponents if you hit your set. Their successes in pivotal moments underscore the importance of understanding board dynamics, opponent tendencies, and the value of strategic aggression. Through patience and calculated risk-taking, small pairs have repeatedly proven their worth, leaving an indelible mark on the game of poker. Small pocket pairs, such as deuces through sixes, are often surrounded by misconceptions that can lead to strategic errors at the poker table. If you or your opponent have shallow stacks, the potential reward may not justify the risk of calling pre-flop. However, the reality is that small pairs, while technically a pair, lack the immediate strength and dominance that larger pairs possess. Their value lies primarily in their potential to develop into a set on the flop, a transformation that can shift the balance of a hand significantly. This potential, however, does not equate to inherent pre-flop power. Small pairs require careful navigation and should not be overvalued, simply because they are pairs. The blinds remain constant, providing a stable environment where implied odds can be more consistently evaluated. Set mining involves calling a pre-flop raise with the hope of hitting a set on the flop, allowing you to win a large pot. This dynamic often reduces the profitability of set mining as the tournament progresses, making it crucial for beginners to adjust their strategy based on the changing conditions. The success of set mining depends heavily on having sufficient implied odds, which are the potential winnings from your opponents if you do hit a set. If the stacks are too shallow, the potential reward may not justify the risk of calling pre-flop. Players must assess the stack depths and the likelihood of extracting value post-flop to determine if set mining is a viable strategy. In contrast, playing from a later position allows you to see how your opponents act before making your decision, providing valuable information that can guide your play. Emphasizing the importance of position helps beginners avoid costly mistakes, such as calling raises in early position without favorable odds. Building patience is perhaps the most important lesson for beginners when it comes to playing small pocket pairs. These hands will not hit a set on the flop most of the time, so it is crucial to remain disciplined and not chase losses or force action when conditions are not favorable. Beginners should learn to fold small pairs when the odds are not in their favor, rather than holding onto them out of a sense of obligation or hope. Patience in poker is a skill that pays dividends over time, as it prevents players from making rash decisions that can lead to significant losses. While suitedness can add marginal value by offering backdoor flush possibilities, the impact on overall hand strength is minimal. This understanding will help them avoid common pitfalls and make more informed decisions at the poker table. Suitedness does not dramatically alter this dynamic, and players should avoid overvaluing small pairs simply because they are suited. The decision to play small pocket pairs should focus more on factors like position, opponent behavior, and stack sizes, rather than the suit of the cards. These hands often tempt players into over-aggressive actions, but the true key to success lies in waiting for the right opportunities. Players must consider a variety of factors, such as table dynamics, opponent tendencies, and the specific stage of a tournament or cash game. Understanding these nuances allows players to make informed decisions about when and how to play small pairs. Misunderstanding or ignoring these elements can lead to costly mistakes. By dispelling these myths and focusing on strategic fundamentals, players can better harness the potential of small pocket pairs, turning them into valuable assets rather than liabilities at the poker table. The patience required in this approach cannot be overstated. Players must carefully select situations where the implied odds justify the preflop call. The key to playing small pairs effectively lies in understanding their true potential and limitations. One fundamental concept to grasp is set mining. Folding small pairs when conditions are not right is another critical aspect of patience. Many players fall into the trap of holding on to these hands out of hope or obligation, even when the odds are not in their favor. Recognizing when to fold is just as important as knowing when to play. If the stacks are shallow or the opponents are aggressive, folding is often the best decision. It is not enough to simply hit the set. You must also be able to win a sizable pot to make the initial call worthwhile. Stack depth plays a critical role in determining whether set mining is a viable strategy. Multiway pots increase the potential for larger payouts when a set is hit, as more players are contributing to the pot. By waiting for these opportunities, players can maximize the value of their small pairs. This approach requires a keen awareness of the table dynamics and the ability to anticipate when a pot is likely to go multiway. It also involves the discipline to fold when such opportunities do not present themselves. Case studies of wins through patient play with small pairs further illustrate the value of this approach. In cash games, stacks are usually deeper, allowing more room for speculative plays like set mining. The blinds remain constant, providing a stable environment where implied odds can be more consistently evaluated. If the stacks are deep and the likelihood of a multi-way pot is high, the player might call, knowing that the potential reward justifies the risk. This dynamic often reduces the profitability of set mining as the tournament progresses, making it crucial for beginners to adjust their strategy based on the changing conditions. In another example, a player with pocket threes in a tournament setting might fold pre-flop in early position, recognizing that the rising blinds and shorter stacks reduce the profitability of set mining. By waiting for a better opportunity, such as a late position raise with multiple callers, the player maintains their stack and preserves their tournament life. This patience pays off later when the player hits a set in a more favorable situation, resulting in a critical double-up. These examples underscore the importance of patience when dealing with small pocket pairs. By avoiding over-aggression, choosing the right spots for set mining, folding when necessary, and waiting for multi-way pots, players can significantly improve their results. Patience allows players to capitalize on the strengths of small pairs while minimizing their weaknesses, leading to more consistent success at the poker table. These hands will not hit a set on the flop most of the time, so it is crucial to remain disciplined and not chase losses or force action when conditions are not favorable. Beginners should learn to fold small pairs when the odds are not in their favor, rather than holding onto them out of a sense of obligation or hope. Patience in poker is a skill that pays dividends over time, as it prevents players from making rash decisions that can lead to significant losses. By focusing on these core principles, set mining, stack depth, game format, position, and patience, beginners can develop a solid foundation for playing small pocket pairs. This understanding will help them avoid common pitfalls and make more informed decisions at the poker table. As they gain experience, they will learn to appreciate the nuanced strategies that can turn small pocket pairs into powerful tools in their poker arsenal. Small pocket pairs, such as deuces to sixes, require a patient approach to unlock their potential. These hands often tempt players into over-aggressive actions, but the true key to success lies in waiting for the right opportunities. When holding a small pair, it is essential to resist the urge to force the action, especially when the board does not improve your hand. Over-aggression with unimproved pairs can lead to unnecessary losses. Instead, players should focus on finding profitable set mining spots where the conditions are favorable for extracting maximum value. In such cases, a smaller bet or a check might be more prudent, allowing the player to maintain control over the pot size. This restraint not only conserves chips, but also prevents opponents from capitalizing on perceived weaknesses. Emotional calls with marginal holdings can be a pitfall for many players, particularly when dealing with small pocket pairs. The temptation to call down with a pair of threes or fours, hoping for an unlikely improvement, can lead to significant losses. Emotional calls often stem from a desire to see the hand through, driven by a sense of attachment to the initial investment. Folding small pairs when conditions are not right is another critical aspect of patience. Many players fall into the trap of holding on to these hands out of hope or obligation, even when the odds are not in their favor. Recognizing when to fold is just as important as knowing when to play. By reviewing hands played with small pairs, players can identify patterns of overcommitment or misjudgment. Analyzing these decisions helps in understanding why certain calls or raises were made and whether they were justified. This reflection allows players to adjust their strategies, ensuring that future decisions are informed by experience rather than impulse. Tools such as hand history reviews and poker software can aid in this process, providing a clear picture of where discipline may have faltered. By waiting for these opportunities, players can maximize the value of their small pairs. By learning to fold when necessary, controlling bet sizes, and avoiding emotional calls, players cultivate a mindset that values patience and calculated risk-taking. This discipline translates to other areas of the game, reinforcing a strategic approach that prioritizes long-term success over short-term gains. Case studies of wins through patient play with small pairs further illustrate the value of this approach. In conclusion, small pocket pairs serve as a microcosm of the discipline required to excel in poker. They teach players the importance of folding when odds are unfavorable, controlling pot sizes, and avoiding emotional decisions. Through post-session analysis, players can learn from their mistakes and refine their strategies. When the flop comes 4 high, the player's patience is rewarded with a set, leading to a substantial win against an opponent holding an overpair. In another example, a player with pocket threes in a tournament setting might fold pre-flop in early position, recognizing that the rising blinds and shorter stacks reduce the profitability of set mining. By waiting for a better opportunity, such as a late position raise with multiple callers, the player maintains their stack and preserves their tournament life. When facing overcards, small pocket pairs generally have around 50% equity, making them coin flips in many all-in scenarios. Against other pocket pairs, however, the equity significantly drops, often hovering around 20%, as the likelihood of running into a higher set becomes a formidable threat. This disparity in equity underscores the importance of context when deciding whether to proceed with small pairs. Patience allows players to capitalize on the strengths of small pairs while minimizing their weaknesses, leading to more consistent success at the poker table. Small pocket pairs, ranging from deuces to sixes, present unique challenges and opportunities at the poker table. These hands, while seemingly innocuous, can serve as a crucible for developing discipline and strategic restraint. The journey to mastering small pocket pairs begins with understanding when to fold. In poker, folding is not merely an act of surrender. It is a calculated decision that often preserves chips and positions a player for future success. With small pairs, folding becomes essential when the odds do not justify a call. This might occur in scenarios where the pot odds are insufficient to warrant chasing a set, particularly when facing a raise from an opponent with a tight range. Recognizing these situations requires a keen sense of probability and a willingness to let go of hands that offer little promise. Controlling bet sizes with small pocket pairs is another crucial aspect of disciplined play. Equity shifts dramatically as the game progresses from flop to turn and river. On the flop, small pocket pairs either transform into strong hands by hitting a set, or remain vulnerable. If unimproved, their equity diminishes against most board textures, especially those with higher cards. On the turn and river, the potential for improvement is minimal, and the equity of small pairs often relies on their ability to bluff, catch, or induce folds from weaker holdings. This restraint not only conserves chips, but also prevents opponents from capitalizing on perceived weaknesses. Emotional calls with marginal holdings can be a pitfall for many players, particularly when dealing with small pocket pairs. The temptation to call down with a pair of threes or fours, hoping for an unlikely improvement, can lead to significant losses. Emotional calls often stem from a desire to see the hand through, driven by a sense of attachment to the initial investment. However, discipline in poker means recognizing when a hand is beat and having the courage to fold, even when it feels counterintuitive. This mindset shift is essential for long-term growth and success. Incorporating solver insights into small pair play involves understanding the nuances of board textures and opponent tendencies. By reviewing hands played with small pairs, players can identify patterns of overcommitment or misjudgment. Conversely, on wet boards with potential draws, they may need to be played more cautiously. The solver's recommendations often include varying bet sizes and frequencies to maximize fold equity or extract value when ahead. Tools such as hand history reviews and poker software can aid in this process, providing a clear picture of where discipline may have faltered. The mathematical foundation of small pair play emphasizes the balance between risk and reward. By grasping pre-flop equity, implied odds, and the impact of MDF, players can make more informed decisions. Solver outputs further refine these strategies, offering a roadmap for integrating small pairs into a broader, balanced game plan. Understanding these concepts not only enhances the play of small pairs, but also contributes to a more comprehensive and strategic approach to poker overall. Balancing ranges in poker involves mixing different types of hands to keep opponents guessing. Small pocket pairs, such as deuces through sixes, play a critical role in achieving this balance. Through post-session analysis, players can learn from their mistakes and refine their strategies. Ultimately, the lessons gleaned from small pair play contribute to a more disciplined and effective overall poker strategy, paving the way for continued growth and success at the table. This approach prevents opponents from narrowing down potential holdings based solely on pre-flop actions. By integrating small pairs into open raise ranges, players can disguise stronger hands and create opportunities to exploit opponents who may overestimate or underestimate the strength of their holdings. Defending blinds with small pairs is another strategic use of these hands. Against other pocket pairs, however, the equity significantly drops, often hovering around 20%, as the likelihood of running into a higher set becomes a formidable threat. The goal is to see a flop and evaluate the potential to hit a set. Set mining is a primary strategy when playing small pocket pairs, relying heavily on implied odds to justify calls pre-flop. Implied odds refer to the potential winnings from future betting rounds if the desired outcome, such as flopping a set, occurs. By occasionally calling raises with small pairs, players can protect their blinds while also setting up opportunities to win larger pots when the flop is favorable. Incorporating small pairs into occasional 3-bet ranges is a more aggressive tactic. This ratio accounts for the rarity of hitting a set, which occurs roughly 1 in 8 times, and the need for sufficient payout to cover the other failed attempts. Minimum defense frequencies, MDF, play a role in determining when to continue with small pairs in raised pots. MDF is the percentage of hands a player needs to defend against an opponent's bet to prevent them from profiting automatically by bluffing. This unpredictability can lead to mistakes from opponents, who may incorrectly assess the strength of the 3-better's range. By occasionally 3-betting with small pairs, players can create opportunities to win pots pre-flop or take control of the hand post-flop. Equity shifts dramatically as the game progresses from flop to turn and river. Balancing value and bluffs with small pair holdings is essential for maintaining a well-rounded strategy. Small pairs offer limited value on their own, but they can be used effectively in conjunction with other hands to create a balanced range. By mixing small pairs with premium hands and bluffs, players can prevent opponents from easily reading their intentions. This balance is crucial in poker, as it keeps opponents guessing and reduces the likelihood of being exploited. Solver outputs have revolutionized the understanding of small pair strategy. Preventing opponents from easily reading ranges is a fundamental aspect of successful poker play. They provide insights into how small pairs should be integrated into overall strategy, balancing between aggression and passivity. Solvers often reveal that small pairs can serve as part of a balanced range, used occasionally for bluffs or as traps when opponents least expect them. These tools underscore the importance of mixing strategies to prevent predictability and exploit opponents who fail to adjust. By incorporating small pairs into a balanced range, players can maintain the upper hand and dictate the flow of the game. This strategic use of small pairs not only enhances a player's overall approach, but also reinforces the importance of balance and unpredictability in poker. Small pocket pairs, such as deuces through sixes, are intriguing yet challenging hands to play. They occur frequently, but require a strategic mindset to navigate effectively. This dynamic approach helps players adapt to changing conditions, ensuring that small pairs remain a viable part of their arsenal. The likelihood of flopping a set with a small pocket pair is approximately 1 in 8. This means that more often than not, the flop will not improve your hand. Accepting this reality is crucial for maintaining composure and avoiding frustration. Patience and discipline are key, as the long-term profitability of small pairs relies on capitalizing on the times when you do hit that elusive set. Balancing ranges in poker involves mixing different types of hands to keep opponents guessing. Small pairs have a unique role in poker due to their potential for high rewards when they hit the board favorably. This potential is rooted in the mathematics of implied odds. When you call a pre-flop raise with a small pair, you do so with the intention of winning a large pot if you hit a set. The key is ensuring that your stack and the stacks of your opponents are deep enough to make this profitable. By integrating small pairs into open raise ranges, Players can disguise stronger hands and create opportunities to exploit opponents who may overestimate or underestimate the strength of their holdings. Defending blinds with small pairs is another strategic use of these hands. However, trusting the process means evaluating each situation based on its merits, not on the fear of losing chips. When the conditions are right, such as in tournament settings with appropriate stack depths, small pairs can be powerful tools for applying pressure. They can also serve as effective bluff catchers, or even as part of a balanced shoving range. The key is to rely on disciplined ranges and mathematical reasoning rather than emotion. By occasionally calling raises with small pairs, players can protect their blinds while also setting up opportunities to win larger pots when the flop is favorable. Incorporating small pairs into occasional 3-bet ranges is a more aggressive tactic. This move serves multiple purposes. First, it can induce folds from opponents holding weaker hands, or speculative holdings. Second, it adds an element of surprise, as opponents might not expect a 3-bet with such holdings. This unpredictability can lead to mistakes from opponents, who may incorrectly assess the strength of the 3-better's range. By occasionally 3-betting with small pairs, players can create opportunities to win pots pre-flop, or take control of the hand post-flop. This tactic requires careful consideration of opponent tendencies and table dynamics to ensure its effectiveness. Recognizing that variance is an inherent part of poker helps in accepting the swings that come with speculative hands like small pairs. Each decision should be viewed in the context of its expected value over the long term. By mixing small pairs with premium hands and bluffs, players can prevent opponents from easily reading their intentions. This balance is crucial in poker, as it keeps opponents guessing and reduces the likelihood of being exploited. Trusting the process with small pairs ultimately reinforces the value of patience, discipline, and a solid understanding of poker fundamentals. Variance is an integral part of poker, and small pocket pairs, like deuces through sixes, are particularly susceptible to its whims. These hands often find themselves in situations where outcomes are uncertain and heavily influenced by the luck of the draw. When opponents cannot accurately predict the strength of a player's hand, they are more likely to make mistakes. This is especially true when these pairs face off against 2 overcards, a common scenario in both cash games and tournaments. By incorporating small pairs into a balanced range, players can maintain the upper hand and dictate the flow of the game. Accepting that these flips are a natural part of playing small pairs helps maintain a calm and composed mindset, even when the results are not in your favor. Small pocket pairs, such as deuces through sixes, are intriguing yet challenging hands to play. In tournaments, where every chip counts towards survival, the variance associated with small pairs can lead to early exits or missed opportunities. Understanding that these hands will often miss the board is the first step in embracing their potential. Acknowledging that each hand is just one of many in the long run allows players to view each bust-out not as a failure, but as an expected outcome within the larger framework of poker variance. This means that, more often than not, the flop will not improve your hand. Accepting this reality is crucial for maintaining composure and avoiding frustration. Patience and discipline are key, as the long-term profitability of small pairs relies on capitalizing on the times when you do hit that elusive set. The concept of trusting the process involves adhering to sound strategy, even when short-term results may not be favorable. Small pairs have a unique role in poker, due to their potential for high rewards when they hit the board favorably. Volume provides a broader perspective, showing that while individual sessions may vary greatly, the overall trajectory can still be positive and profitable. Embracing variance requires specific mental strategies to remain composed and focused. The key is ensuring that your stack, and the stacks of your opponents, are deep enough to make this profitable. The implied odds must justify the investment, meaning there should be enough potential payout to compensate for the times you miss. Additionally, setting realistic goals for each session, such as focusing on making the best decisions rather than solely on winning, can shift the emphasis from results to process. This focus on process over outcomes fosters a healthier relationship with variance, allowing players to view each hand as a learning opportunity rather than a definitive judgment of skill. Understanding and embracing variance contributes significantly to a player's growth and development in poker. By accepting that variance is an inherent part of the game, players can learn to detach emotionally from individual results and focus on long-term expected value, EV. The key is to rely on disciplined ranges and mathematical reasoning rather than emotion. Over time, this approach leads to improved performance and more stable results, as players become adept at navigating the ups and downs of poker with resilience and composure. Embracing variance with small pocket pairs therefore becomes not just a necessity, but a pathway to mastering the mental and strategic aspects of the game. This discipline is cultivated through consistent practice and review. By regularly analyzing hand histories and outcomes, players can refine their understanding of small pair dynamics. Playing small pairs effectively requires a disciplined approach, where patience is not just a virtue, but a necessity. The strategy surrounding these hands emphasizes the importance of waiting for the right conditions, such as favorable stack depths and optimal positions, to maximize their potential. The lessons learned from consistent execution of small pair strategies contribute to a player's overall growth and understanding of poker. Lessons from consistent small pair execution highlight the importance of trusting the math and the process. Recognizing that variance is an inherent part of poker helps in accepting the swings that come with speculative hands like small pairs. Each decision should be viewed in the context of its expected value over the long term. By focusing on making the correct play consistently, players can weather the ups and downs more effectively. This mindset not only improves decision-making with small pairs, but also enhances overall strategic thinking. Trusting the process with small pairs ultimately reinforces the value of patience, discipline, and a solid understanding of poker fundamentals. Variance is an integral part of poker, and small pocket pairs, like deuces through sixes, are particularly susceptible to its whims. By focusing on making sound decisions based on expected value, players can navigate the variance with resilience, understanding that over time, the results will align more closely with their strategic intentions. The lessons learned from playing small pairs extend beyond the specific context of these hands, offering broader insights into poker strategy. This is especially true when these pairs face off against two overcards, a common scenario in both cash games and tournaments. This mindset fosters a deeper understanding of poker as a game of skill and strategy, where each decision contributes to the overall outcome. Accepting that these flips are a natural part of playing small pairs helps maintain a calm and composed mindset, even when the results are not in your favor. Managing expectations is crucial when dealing with the frequent bust-outs that can occur with small pocket pairs. In tournaments where every chip counts towards survival, the variance associated with small pairs can lead to early exits or missed opportunities. This perspective encourages players to focus on the process rather than the results, fostering a sense of calm and acceptance that transcends individual sessions or tournaments. As players drift into a state of relaxation, the lessons of small pairs linger in the subconscious, reinforcing the value of patience, discipline, and resilience in the pursuit of poker mastery. This mindset shift is vital for preserving mental energy and preventing tilt, which can be detrimental to overall performance. One effective way to mitigate the effects of variance is to increase the volume of play. By playing more hands and participating in more games, players can smooth out the swings that come with small pocket pairs. Over time, the law of large numbers suggests that the results will align more closely with expected probabilities. This approach allows players to see the true value of their strategies and decisions, rather than being overly influenced by short-term outcomes. Volume provides a broader perspective, showing that while individual sessions may vary greatly, the overall trajectory can still be positive and profitable. Embracing variance requires specific mental strategies to remain composed and focused. Visualization techniques can be helpful, where players imagine the possible outcomes and prepare themselves mentally for each scenario. This mental rehearsal reduces the shock of unexpected results and helps maintain a balanced emotional state. Additionally, setting realistic goals for each session, such as focusing on making the best decisions rather than solely on winning, can shift the emphasis from results to process. This focus on process over outcomes fosters a healthier relationship with variance, allowing players to view each hand as a learning opportunity rather than a definitive judgment of skill. Understanding and embracing variance contributes significantly to a player's growth and development in poker. By accepting that variance is an inherent part of the game, players can learn to detach emotionally from individual results and focus on long-term expected value EV. This perspective encourages a deeper understanding of poker strategy and decision-making, as players recognize the importance of making plus EV decisions consistently. Over time, this approach leads to improved performance and more stable results, as players become adept at navigating the ups and downs of poker with resilience and composure. Embracing variance with small pocket pairs therefore becomes not just a necessity, but a pathway to mastering the mental and strategic aspects of the game. Small pocket pairs, ranging from deuces to sixes, serve as a subtle yet profound lesson in the art of poker. These hands, while seemingly innocuous, embody core strategic principles that extend beyond the felt. Playing small pairs effectively requires a disciplined approach, where patience is not just a virtue but a necessity. The strategy surrounding these hands emphasizes the importance of waiting for the right conditions, such as favorable stack depths and optimal positions, to maximize their potential. In poker, stack depth plays a crucial role in determining the viability of speculative hands like small pairs. A deeper stack allows for greater flexibility and the ability to set mine profitably, as the potential rewards of flopping a set justify the initial investment. Conversely, shallow stacks can limit the implied odds, making it essential to adapt strategies accordingly. This understanding of stack dynamics is a fundamental aspect of poker strategy, reinforcing the need for players to be acutely aware of their chip position relative to the blinds and their opponents. Variance is an ever-present force in poker, shaping the reality of speculative hands like small pairs. These hands often find themselves at the mercy of the deck, with outcomes heavily influenced by chance. Embracing variance involves accepting the inherent unpredictability of poker and recognizing that short-term results are not always reflective of long-term skill. This mindset allows players to remain calm and composed, even when faced with the inevitable swings that accompany the game. By focusing on making sound decisions based on expected value, players can navigate the variance with resilience, understanding that over time, the results will align more closely with their strategic intentions. The lessons learned from playing small pairs extend beyond the specific context of these hands, offering broader insights into poker strategy. The patience and discipline required to play small pairs effectively can be applied to other areas of the game, encouraging a thoughtful and measured approach to decision-making. This mindset fosters a deeper understanding of poker as a game of skill and strategy, where each decision contributes to the overall outcome. By applying the principles learned from small pairs to other aspects of their play, players can enhance their strategic depth and improve their overall performance. In the grand tapestry of poker, Small pairs serve as a microcosm of the game's complexities and nuances. They remind players of the importance of maintaining a long-term perspective, where growth and improvement are achieved through consistent application of sound strategy. This perspective encourages players to focus on the process, rather than the results, fostering a sense of calm and acceptance that transcends individual sessions or tournaments. As players drift into a state of relaxation, the lessons of small pairs linger in the subconscious, reinforcing the value of patience, discipline, and resilience in the pursuit of poker mastery.